I'm a DC superhero in Marvel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 175, Wayne Company's Great Development. The Dark Old Man. New York. Anton walked out of the airport, and it was his nominal assistant, Betty, who came to pick him up. "How is DC Company doing recently?" Anton asked calmly, while sitting in the car. The Flash TV series has been filmed to the 4th episode, with an average rating of 1.1, ranking 6th in the same period. Although it is not as good as those highly famous dramas, it is far beyond the renewal standards of the TV station. From the feedback of fans of comics and novels, everyone is very supportive, with only 20% of the negative reviews, 14% of fans choose neutral, and the rest are all positive. Betty said, especially Wonder Woman. The Easter eggs in the first episode are the most concerned issue for fans, and everyone is looking forward to seeing your next work. This result is actually not too good, just average. However, the ratings of the first season of The Flash in the previous life, although it broke the record of the small broken station, CW, when it premiered, reached 1.9, but the final result seemed to be stable at just over 1, and the lowest ratings even fell below 1, and the highest ratings did not exceed 2. In general, although it is not very good, it is definitely qualified, and meets Anton's expectations. According to the ratings of just over 1, about 2 million people in the United States watch this TV series every day. According to the analysis of the Flash fan value data displayed on Anton's system panel, this number is not much different from his estimate. At least, since the broadcast of The Flash, in just over a month, The Flash's fan value has increased from 3 million to 8 million. When The Flash is over, this number can reach about 15 million. According to the cycle of 12 episodes per season, 3 months is actually about the same as the shooting cycle of his movie. The cost performance is indeed slightly higher. In addition, Wonder Woman also appeared as an Easter egg in the first episode, and with the publicity during this period, her fan value has increased a lot, reaching 5.5 million. After the Wonder Woman movie was completed, there was also a linkage plot specially arranged by the screenwriter. Before the movie was released, Wonder Woman would appear in the Flash TV series, no longer in the form of an Easter egg, but as a linkage character, to help the Flash solve the enemy and warm up for the movie. Anton estimated that with the broadcast of this episode and the promotion of the film's materials, Wonder Woman's fan value will increase much more than that of the Flash. It will not be a problem to get Wonder Woman's fan value to 10 million before the film is released. The film is almost finished. Let Jim release some of the materials he has prepared and start the formal promotion work. Anton nodded. Understood. Betty nodded. Next, take me to Wayne Company. After Anton finished speaking, he closed his eyes and rested for a while. Soon, arriving at the relocated Wayne Company, Anton saw the old man he had not seen for a long time. Betty stood at the door of the office and did not disturb the reunion of the grandfather and grandson. Anton walked into the spacious and bright office and saw Jonah Jameson at this time. There was no sign of hard work. He was dressed in a suit and tie, with a cigar in his mouth, sitting in the boss chair, and he looked leisurely. Instead, he looked like a villain, full of momentum. "Anton, how is the filming of the movie?" The old man had already received the news that Anton was going back to New York, and he didn't think there was anything to be surprised about. He smiled. "We are making a lot of money now." The old man opened his arms and was full of pride. "It's the only one in the world. We don't even need to advertise. Those disabled people who have been perfectly cured are our best advertisements. It's a small scene." Anton shrugged. "Don't forget, this is just the beginning. I have already talked to Vice President Rodriguez. When the time is right, he will introduce military forces to us. With the guarantee of Defense Secretary John Kohler, we will soon become a new arms giant with large military orders." The old man was full of confidence and looked at Anton. "The biggest problem now is the arms technology you promised me before." "Technology is not a problem. The problem is that we can't just do military business," Anton reminded. "There is still a vast market waiting for us. such as the Middle East or some African countries. Don't worry. The old man nodded calmly. These have also been discussed. I have even contacted the Continental Hotel. As Batman's ally, they are willing to contribute to Batman's career. Anton was stunned, looking at Jonah Jameson with astonishment. He had never expected that the old man would secretly contact the Continental Hotel or the High Table without telling him. Moreover, the old man actually knew about the alliance between the High Table and Batman. This was beyond Anton's expectation. The High Table. Anton was about to speak, but before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by the old man. Anton, I know my limits. After a pause, Jameson continued, don't forget, when you first said you were Batman in front of me, the first place you came was the Continental Hotel. Since you two are living in peace later, I don't need to say more about what happened. Okay, I'm relieved to leave the company to you. Anton said no more. The old man's behavior did surprise him, but thinking of some things that Norman inadvertently revealed when he first met Norman Osborn, it is conceivable that the old man himself is a black-bellied guy. Maybe he has justice in his heart, but in this era, being worthy of conscience is the greatest justice. After all, the world today does not welcome people with absolute justice. On the other hand, the old man took over the contact with the High Table on behalf of Batman, and gradually expanded the power of Wayne Company to the underground world, which really made up for the vacancy of Batman in the underground world. In this way, Wayne Company has taken a significant step on the road to the consortium. After thinking for a moment, Anton took out a USB flash drive and handed it to the old man. This contains some information about energy weapons from aliens, enough to deal with the military and the High Table. He said, I didn't intend to hand it over to you so soon, but the development of the company has far exceeded my expectations, and I will not focus on Wayne Company in the future, so the company will be handed over to you. You go and do your own thing. The old man took the USB flash drive, nodded to Anton and smiled. I heard that there are a lot of excitement at the Stark Industrial Expo. Hammer Company plans to display their latest weapons at the expo, and Oscorp also plans to show its muscles. In addition, Tony Stark's exposed new armor. Tut tut, their dog brains are about to be beaten out. Aren't you going to watch the excitement? Anton heard the old man's implication. HMPH. The old man shrugged. I'm not interested in their business competition. Besides, now is the development period of Wayne Company, and their fighting will be more beneficial to our development. With your USB flash drive, I will meet with certain people tomorrow to accelerate the pace of Wayne Company's entry into the arms industry and strive to seize the market vacated by Stark Industries' announcement of withdrawal from the arms industry when they are fighting each other to the death. Got it? Anton waved his hand. I'm leaving. Got it. Hey, it seems that Zack Snyder's cut of Justice League is available. I plan to watch it after I finish my exams. Does anyone who has watched it share your thoughts? Chapter 176 Symbiote. Osborn's new technology. The next day, in the evening, at the Stark Industries Expo. This is the Stark Industries Park in New York, located in the city of New York. In this land of high value, it covers a vast area of about 5,000 acres, tens of thousands of square meters. It is enough to see the wealth of Stark Industries. Even though Stark Industries, under the leadership of Tony Stark, issued a declaration to withdraw from the arms industry after Tony became Iron Man, the falling stocks rose back step by step. Everyone knows that, although Stark Industries has made a lot of money relying on the arms industry, Stark Industries that has abandoned the arms industry is still a behemoth. With Tony Stark, a recognized genius inventor, Stark Industries will never decline, but may create glory again. Anton stepped into the Stark Industries park and saw the huge crowds at the expo. He felt that he seemed to have underestimated the influence of this expo. So many people. He looked around with a surprised expression. It is said that tens of thousands of people may gather here tonight. The flow of people may reach a terrifying 400,000. Eddie, who was standing next to Anton, replied, they are all here for Tony Stark. What's so good about Tony Stark? He is not as handsome as me. Anton was puzzled. These people are here for Tony Stark's R8. Phil, who had not appeared for a long time and followed Anton and Eddie, interrupted. 80% of the people here are men. What's so good about the R8 worth 540,000? Anton curled his lips and looked around. Seeing that the faces of the people around him were full of expectations, he thought that they were all a group of guys who had never seen the world. What? Eddie didn't hear clearly. Nothing. Anton said casually, leading Eddie and others through the VIP entrance into the exhibition. Technology companies from all over the world gathered here. The exhibition held by Tony Stark covers multiple industries and shows everyone the world's top advanced technologies in various industries. One booth after another is eye-opening. However, the most central booth was temporarily vacant. Only a few companies were qualified to take the stage there. For example, the organizers, Stark Industries, Oscorp, and Hammer Corporation. Even though Hammer Corporation and Stark Industries were at loggerheads, Tony Stark did not hold Hammer Corporation hostile. Tony never considered Hammer Corporation a competitor. In Tony's view, Hammer Corporation was just a follower that followed Stark Industries. Giving a follower some room to play would not cause Stark Industries to suffer losses. Just like an elephant would not actively step on an ant to death. Tony did not know that the ant in his eyes was ready to eat the elephant. Soon, the stage in the center lit up with dazzling lights. A person that Anton did not expect appeared on the stage. Harry Osborn. Harry actually came on stage in person. It seems that they attach great importance to this exhibition. Anton was a little surprised. The recent situation of Oscorp is not optimistic. Eddie said, since Norman Osborn disappeared, Oscorp has experienced internal strife. Although Justin Hammer failed to seize power, it also made others see the decline of Oscorp. In addition, the recent armor craze caused by the appearance of Iron Man has squeezed the share of Oscorp, which is not good at making armor, in the arms industry. Even the limb regeneration technology that has been prepared for a long time has been preempted by Wayne Company. They are now in urgent need of external attention to boost the stock price. Armor craze. Failure of limb regeneration technology. The two made the already declining Oscorp even worse. It does sound a bit bleak. Anton remained calm. It was normal business competition, and he would not feel sorry for Oscorp. Even if Harry had a good relationship with him, even if Oscorp's business situation was not optimistic, Harry was still one of the richest men in the world. If he couldn't make money, he would just lie on countless banknotes and eat his old capital, which would be enough for Harry to live on for several lifetimes. Besides, Oscorp has only gone from a rapid development to a shrinking trend. It looks pitiful, but it still makes money every year without doing anything. Anton can't sympathize with it. It seems that they are planning to display Oscorp's latest weapons at the expo. Eddie looked at Oscorp's layout and saw something unusual. Phil's eyes widened, showing extreme astonishment. Isn't that a flying skateboard? He said in astonishment. How dare Oscorp display this thing? Aren't they afraid that people will find out the true identity of the Green Goblin? It's just a flying skateboard, not some technology that cannot be copied. Anton saw something wrong and said lightly, this should not be the main thing released by Oscorp. It's probably just a bonus. Huh. Phil was shocked and continued to watch Harry's speech on the stage. At this time, after Harry displayed the flying skateboard, he took the initiative to step on the skateboard, took off into the air, swung around in the air, and caused countless people to exclaim, and then returned to the stage with satisfaction. Under the attention of everyone, Harry did not leave the skateboard, maintained a suspended posture, and continued to introduce. Oscorp has a plan. He said slowly. Tony Stark can turn over a new leaf and become Iron Man, becoming the spokesperson for justice, so Oscorp can also take on the responsibility of upholding justice. Harry said, raising his hand and pressing a black watch on his wrist. Swish. His whole body was quickly covered with black metal. Is this nanotechnology? Anton narrowed his eyes. Others who were also paying attention to this scene, including Tony Stark in a hidden corner off the stage, and Justin Hammer who was eagerly waiting to go on stage, all cast their eyes on Harry with astonishment. They compared the technology Harry showed at this time with existing technology, and got an incredible answer. Nano armor? Oscorp is not good at making armor, but it has taken a different approach, and embarked on such a path, which makes people praise it. Interesting idea. Tony touched his chin. he suddenly felt that the Mark V briefcase he carried with him was very outdated, and he needed to improve it when he returned. No. Tony thought for a moment, staring at Harry on the stage, his eyes fixed again. It's not nanotechnology. At the same time, no, it's not nanotechnology. Anton also saw something was wrong. The armor covering Harry's body always made him feel strangely familiar. At this time, Eddie beside him felt a little disappointed. Venom felt threatened and sent a reminder in his heart. So, Eddie's face was solemn, and he spoke faintly. It's not nanotechnology, it's a symbiote. Chapter 177 Harry Osborn. The regular army of superheroes. Symbiote. Hearing this, Anton suddenly realized. Yes, the armor on Harry was transformed from a symbiote. Eddie nodded, his face solemn. Venom told me that he smelled the same kind of breath from Harry, and that armor may have all the abilities of a symbiote. Moreover, that armor looks like a dead object, not a living thing. Oscorp may have mastered the method of controlling symbiotes. I see. It seems that Oscorp has completed the work that the Life Foundation has not completed. Anton quickly understood the whole story. He did not forget that the Life Foundation was taken over by Oscorp early on. Although S.H.I.E.L.D. also participated in it after the collapse of the Life Foundation, S.H.I.E.L.D. can obviously only negotiate with Oscorp and cannot interfere with the specific operations of Oscorp. The experiments on symbiotes are still continuing. However, this experiment on alien creatures has moved from the illegal stage to the formal stage. At present, it seems that after Oscorp took over the symbiote experiment from the Life Foundation, relying on Oscorp's huge talent system and biotechnology advantages, it has finally developed an effective strengthening route. The biological armor Harry showed on the stage was undoubtedly the most irrefutable evidence. Yes, biological armor. Anton clearly realized what the black armor Harry was wearing at this time was. Judging from Harry's calm performance, the symbiote at this time had most likely lost its self-awareness and completely turned into a tool. This set of biological armor is the best weapon made using the corpse of the symbiote. As a large company, Osborn is willing to take on more social responsibilities. It is a duty to maintain peace and social stability. After a long discussion, we set up a special department. This department will cooperate with the New York Police Department Task Force, and I, Harry Osborn, will join the New York Police Department Task Force as the chairman of Osborn and the leader of the special department, become a special consultant to the task force, and participate in the daily work of the task force. Just like the turtles that everyone likes. After joining the task force, the Ninja Turtles became more famous and gained the recognition of New York citizens at the fastest speed, becoming the recognized mascot of New York. For this reason, the New York Police Department Task Force even changed the police logo of the task force to a turtle. Of course, this is not the point. At this time, Harry was in midair, speaking while keeping his head down, looking down at everyone in front of him. However, his attitude did not seem to be superior. Instead, his tone was quite sincere, giving people a very sincere feeling. After a pause, without waiting for everyone to speak, Harry continued, to some extent, I will become a new superhero to serve everyone, but I'm not a volunteer policeman, but a police consultant who can participate in the law enforcement of the police task force. Police consultant, participate in law enforcement, new superhero? People looked at each other. It was the first time for them to witness the birth of a superhero in such a formal occasion. As for Tony Stark, who also announced himself as Iron Man in a similar occasion, he could not be counted among them. The press conference was not the place where Iron Man was born. There are photos to prove it. The road outside the Stark Industries headquarters building is recognized by everyone as the place where Iron Man was born. In the photo, Tony Stark, who is Iron Man, was pressed to the ground and rubbed by Ironmonger. Until now, many people still have these color photos from the front page of the Daily Bugle. Tony's haters all held a copy of the card, using it to make fun of Tony. At the same time, including Anton, Tony, Justin Hammer and others, all showed disbelief, which was beyond their own cognition. He openly announced that he would become a new superhero and had already cooperated with the New York Police Department to participate in the law enforcement of the police force. This is too good. In this comparison, other superheroes are all ragtag troops, and only Harry has quietly become a regular army. Justin's face was a little distorted. He certainly understood why Harry announced the news in public. Isn't it because Tony Stark became Iron Man, which attracted countless people's attention and led to the recovery of Stark Industries stocks, and Stark Industries benefited a lot from it? Oscorp obviously intends to follow suit and launch a superhero representing Oscorp to attract attention. Among the current members of Oscorp, of course, Harry is the most representative. Justin looked at the expressions of the audience, and his expression became even more distorted. Obviously, Oscorp succeeded. After today, Oscorp will attract a lot of attention. He couldn't predict what would happen next, but as long as Oscorp could maintain this level of attention, and Harry promised to truly participate in the NYPD task force's law enforcement, and strengthen the crackdown and publicity on criminals, Oscorp would be able to remain invincible for a long time, just like Stark Industries. At this moment, the pressure that Oscorp brought to Justin Hammer had exceeded that of Stark Industries. After all, Stark Industries had withdrawn from the arms industry. And looking at what Harry had done, Oscorp did not intend to shrink its arms business, but instead took the initiative to promote Oscorp's weapons in front of the police, the military, and even the public, by incarnating as a superhero. What a smart move. Justin looked cold, staring at Harry on the stage, his eyes like knives. Little bastard, I underestimated you. Anton and Tony also quickly realized Harry's true purpose. Incarnation as a superhero is just a way to achieve the goal, not for justice and peace, as Harry said. If it really comes to justice, among the existing superheroes, only the innocent and romantic Spider-Man meets this characteristic. Anton touched his chin and his impression of Harry changed. From the time he approached the Daily Bugle, to now being able to take charge of his own affairs, in just half a year, this young man has become cunning and sly. No wonder Norman had confidence in his son when he was sober. Then again, if Harry plans to become a superhero, what nickname will he give himself? It can't be the second generation Green Goblin, right? Anton fell into deep thought. Harry did not immediately announce his nickname, and it seemed that he had no intention of taking a nickname. After introducing Oscorp's plans and his own plans to debut as a superhero, he began to promote Oscorp's latest technology and the defense products that the key company will launch next. The so-called national defense is naturally arms. This made Justin's face in the audience even uglier. However, even if you do this, Oscorp will still be left far behind by Hammer. From now on, it will be Hammer's world. Justin did not panic, but smiled with a winning smile. His trump card was beyond everyone's imagination. Chapter 178, Anton's Foresight. Steel Soldiers Riot. After the Oscorp exhibition, everyone thought the trip was worthwhile. Even Tony's R8, which everyone had been looking forward to, was not as shocking as seeing the chairman of Oscorp make his debut as a hero. This trip was worth it. The media who came to the scene to prepare for tomorrow's news were already crazy. They took out their phones and frantically called their own companies. Even if they were off work, they would be forced to go back to work overtime. The chairman of Oscorp, Harry Osborn, was going to follow Tony Stark's example and make his debut as a superhero. This was explosive and shocking news. In terms of shock, it was far better than Tony's new armor. Did you take pictures of it? Anton turned his head and looked at Phil. It was taken. Phil nodded and said excitedly, I stayed up late to finish the manuscript today, and it will be on the front page tomorrow. Don't worry. Anton smiled and said, although this news is sensational, Oscorp may not be on the front page tomorrow. What do you mean? Eddie was arguing with Venom because of the symbiote. Although Venom had no sympathy for his compatriots, he did have empathy. Humans have the ability to make symbiotes into tools, so as a symbiote, isn't it very dangerous? Eddie repeatedly assured Venom that he would not do this to it, and only then did he temporarily calm down. Then, when he heard Anton's meaningful words, his heart jumped, and he had an ominous premonition. Will something happen today? Eddie stared at his boss and swallowed his saliva. Obviously, he had great trust in Anton's foresight. You know, since he met Anton, everything Anton predicted has finally become a fact. Wait and see. After Osborn is over, it will be Hammer Industries' turn. Justin will go on stage. Anton did not explain and answered lightly. Eddie turned around and saw the chairman of Hammer Industries walking step by step to Stark Industrial Park, which is the largest booth at the expo. "Hello, everyone. I'm Justin Hammer." Justin said, "Ladies and gentlemen, if you think Osborn will be the headline of tomorrow's news, you are wrong. Very wrong." Huh. Eddie and Phil turned their heads and looked at Anton again. They didn't admire Justin Hammer's confidence, but were surprised at the accuracy of Anton's prediction. Anton was right again. Just by Justin Hammer's words, they knew that they might see news that was as shocking as Harry Osborn's hero, or even more shocking. "Today, I will introduce you to the new face of the US military." On the stage, Justin's confident voice continued. "Hammer Iron Soldiers." He turned around and pointed, and the mechanism designed earlier on the booth was displayed in front of everyone. As the mechanism slowly rose on the platform, rows and rows of robots like Iron Man stood. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps. The 4 major military branches gathered. "Good guy." Eddie and others looked at Justin Hammer on the stage, who was extremely proud, with a chrysanthemum-like smile on his face. Finally, they knew where this guy's confidence came from. There is only one Iron Man. However, there are more than 20 Hammer's Iron Soldiers on the stage. Even though their combat effectiveness is different and inferior, if more than 20 of them come together, even Iron Man will be scared, right? It is conceivable that, if the US military really intends to purchase Hammer's steel soldiers, then in future wars, these fearless remote-controlled steel soldiers made of iron will become the most feared weapons in the world. A military personnel in the audience narrowed his eyes. He was the military leader who was invited by Justin. Although he was prepared for the technological display of Hammer Industries, he was still shocked and moved when Hammer really showed the steel soldiers. For the public, the technology displayed by Hammer Company may be similar to the news made by Osborn, or even slightly inferior. But for the military, Hammer Company's technology is more practical. If an army of steel soldiers can be formed, the military will look down on everyone. Hammer Company can actually solve the energy problem of steel soldiers. Eddie and Phil looked at each other in shock. Not only them, but everyone knows where the problem lies. It's not that the existing technology can't make steel soldiers, but it can't solve the energy problem needed for these soldiers to fight in the long term. And Tony Stark, the master of the arc reactor technology, held onto this technology tightly and refused to release it. Now, Hammer Corporation has cracked this technology. No wonder Justin Hammer is so proud. Harry saw this, and his face sank. Although he was prepared that Hammer's products would surprise people, he didn't expect that Hammer Corporation actually developed steel soldiers. He could imagine that this would probably be the most successful imitation of Hammer Corporation. It could directly throw Tony Stark, the Iron Man, out by 1,000 miles. Unless Tony chooses to let Stark Industries return to the arms industry and take away the US military's weapons orders from Hammer Corporation, Hammer Industries will definitely be proud for a long time. But judging from Tony Stark's character and the current changes, this playboy who has turned back, even if he has a great future, Tony will never turn back to arms. Fortunately, he has already become a superhero to boost the stock. In this way, at least it can be guaranteed that Oscorp will not be left behind by Hammer Corporation. Not far away, Tony sat in the specially set up audience seats, his face unchanged. Although the appearance of the Iron Soldier surprised him, it did not make him lose control of his emotions. To be honest, even if Hammer Industries cracked the arc reactor technology and solved the energy problem of the Iron Soldier, he still did not take Hammer Corporation seriously. Since he insisted that Stark Industries withdraw from the arms industry, he was ready to face this scene. Although the arc reactor technology is advanced, it is not a technology that no one can crack. Tony does not underestimate the smart people in this world, and similarly, he will never underestimate his own potential and wisdom. On the stage, Justin looked at Tony and Harry in the audience with pride, opened his arms, and continued his passionate speech. This is revolutionary technology, and Hammer Corporation will change the technological landscape of this world. While speaking, Justin Hammer did not notice at all that the Iron Soldier behind him quietly turned the barrel. Most of the audience also ignored this point. A few people noticed this scene, but they didn't take it seriously, thinking it was a performance set up by Justin Hammer. Only Tony and Harry noticed something was wrong, and their faces changed slightly, including Anton, Eddie and Phil, who were not far away. Especially Eddie and Phil. They widened their eyes and suddenly realized that the bigger news Anton was talking about might not be the Iron Soldier displayed by Hammer Company. This invention, which was revolutionary and would change the World War pattern in Justin Hammer's mouth, was not the point at all. The Iron Soldier riot was. Chapter 179 Mutation. Ex-wife missile. After realizing the key problem, Eddie and Phil breathed quickly, looked at each other, and instantly showed incredible expressions. Even if they vaguely guessed the result, they still felt unprecedented disbelief. Will the Iron Soldier really riot? Although Justin Hammer is sometimes a little silly, he is not a fool, and he is even a rare smart man. How could such a guy destroy his future and do such a stupid thing? Looking at the Iron Soldier behind Justin Hammer, adjusting the crotches of the barrel, showing a ready-to-go formation, Eddie and Phil suddenly couldn't speak. This is almost a hammer. Justin Hammer is going to be hammered to death. At this time, the audience near the entire booth cheered loudly as Justin Hammer spoke. The appearance of the Iron Soldier is particularly shocking, just like Harry Osborn announced that he would become a superhero to help New York citizens fight criminals. The atmosphere heated up. The entire expo entered another climax. People didn't know that a huge crisis was approaching and had come quietly. Do you know why I came to the expo tonight? Anton suddenly spoke. He had an interested smile on his face, his eyes still fixed on Justin on the stage and the Iron Soldier behind Justin. He didn't even turn his head, but immediately attracted the attention of Eddie and Phil beside him. Why? Eddie and Phil spoke at the same time. They were indeed very curious. I just came to see Tony get beaten. Anton smiled and said, the Iron Soldier's target is none other than Tony Stark. Don't worry, someone will take care of this matter. Tony Stark. Eddie was surprised. He could see that Anton knew the inside story very well. Right. Anton thought for a moment and looked at Phil. Aren't you eager to find an opportunity to make a name for yourself and make your official debut? This is a good time. Are you interested? Of course. Phil was excited, but then his face fell. Damn. I didn't bring my equipment. When Phil first got the evil ghost suit transformed from the Green Goblin suit, he would put the equipment in his car wherever he went, as if New York would encounter a crisis at any time, and he would turn the tide as a superhero. Just like his boss turned into Batman to save New York. But Phil never thought that, except for being sent to the Bigfoot gang as an undercover, he perfectly missed every crisis in between. A few months ago, the moment when Phil was closest to making his debut was probably the time node after he had done something to the Bigfoot gang. At that time, aliens invaded New York, and Phil wanted to take advantage of Batman's popularity and appear on stage with Batman and Cyborg in a highly anticipated manner. As a result, Phil never expected that after he was taken away by S.H.I.E.L.D., not only was his equipment confiscated, but S.H.I.E.L.D. did not release him until the incident was over. Even the equipment was not retrieved until after the incident, when Anton specifically called S.H.I.E.L.D. Too much. Since then, Phil has been hit hard, but he persisted and was determined to find a suitable time to appear in front of the citizens of New York. Anyway, he could see that New York was not peaceful now, and there were opportunities at any time. As a result, after waiting for several months, New York didn't even make a splash. Damn it, any small robbery incidents were usually handled by the occasional Daredevil and Spider-Man, and Phil never got a chance to appear. Phil was so angry that he simply left the equipment at home. He didn't expect that the equipment would run into trouble just a few days after he left it at home. No way. Phil wanted to cry. Boss, is it too late for me to go back and get the equipment now? Forget it, you'd better stay here. Anton shook his head. I gave you the opportunity, but you can't seize it yourself. The Iron Soldiers are moving. Anton narrowed his eyes, staring at the movement on the stage, his face slightly serious, and ordered, Eddie, remember to take pictures later. Tony Stark was beaten. This is a news worthy of being on the front page of tomorrow's newspaper. Phil, go and evacuate the crowd and let these people leave here quickly, to leave enough fighting space for the Iron Soldiers and Iron Man. Anton, why did the Iron Soldiers riot? Seeing that Anton knew everything, Eddie couldn't help asking, Justin Hammer shouldn't be so stupid, right? How could it be Justin Hammer? Anton said, however, how do you think Justin Hammer solved the energy problem of the Iron Soldiers? Can Hammer Company really crack the technology of the arc reactor in such a short time? You mean, it was not Justin Hammer who caused the Iron Soldiers to riot, but the person who cracked the arc reactor technology? Eddie suddenly realized. Next to him, Phil, who was hit hard, didn't want to interrupt. Who is he? Eddie was full of curiosity and asked. Boom! Exclamation mark. Anton was about to speak when he saw a figure falling from the sky and landing heavily on the platform in front of him. This was a silver figure with a slender cannon behind him. From the outside, it was no different from Iron Man's Mark model armor, but everyone knew that the person in this armor was not Tony Stark. Tony was sitting in the audience. He is the armor that our Hammer Company has built with all its strength. The pilot inside is Air Force Lieutenant Colonel James Rhodes. Justin Hammer introduced. While speaking, the silver figure and the Iron Soldier behind him saluted everyone. Off stage, Tony narrowed his eyes and looked at the armor on Rhodes. He knew that the internal structure and weapon loading inside had been replaced by Hammer Company. However, it looked really ugly. Tony pouted. Followed closely. This armor is named War Machine. As the name suggests, it is designed for real use. It is loaded with Hammer's top weapons, mainly armor-piercing X-Wife missiles. Of course, in addition to the armor-piercing type, there are multiple models of X-Wife missiles. They are inexpensive and versatile, with considerable range, accuracy, and power. No one can ignore our Hammer Company's X-Wife missiles. Justin continued to introduce, but saw Rhodes suddenly take action. Damn it. Rhodes' face changed inside the armor. He found that he could not control the armor, and on the virtual screen in front of him, the crushes locked on a person in the audience. He was so familiar with this person. Tony. Rhodes was shocked and reminded him quickly. Through the loudspeaker of the armor, a voice came out. The armor is aiming at you. Get out of the way. I can't control the armor. As he spoke, a delicate and small missile appeared on his shoulder. There is no doubt that this is what Hammer said, the X-Wife missile that is inexpensive and good quality, but no one can ignore. Chapter 180, the X-Wife is silent. The mysterious man arrives. The war machine driven by Rod lost control and turned into an X-Wife missile to face the audience. The situation changed instantly. The smoke of war seemed to spread silently inside this huge exhibition hall. Click, click, click. At the same time, the rows of steel soldiers behind Rod were ready with their gun barrels, aiming at the audience one after another. Full of momentum. Judging from Justin Hammer's expression and Rod's anxious reminder to the driver of the war machine beside him, this was not an accident. What happened? How could this happen? Attack. Attack. Go. Get out of the way. Someone discovered the key to the problem, and the audience quickly fell into chaos. The steel soldiers and X-Wife missiles that were praised by Justin Hammer were both facing themselves and others who wouldn't be afraid. This way. Phil didn't know where he got a big speaker and directed the scene. Get out of this booth quickly. The steel soldiers are out of control. Out of control? Justin Hammer was completely confused. Then he was furious, looking at Rhodes in front of him, gritting his teeth. Lieutenant Colonel Rhodes, quickly put away the missiles. You messed up my demonstration. I can't do it. Rhodes replied with even more gritting his teeth. Hammer, what on earth did you do? I can't control my armor. What? Justin Hammer was stunned. He instantly realized that there must be a problem backstage, and it was Ivan Vanko who was making trouble. At this moment, he was completely desperate. He almost collapsed on the ground and cried. It's over. Ex-wife missile? Anton sat in the chair as steady as a rock. Seeing the sudden change on the stage, he didn't show any fear, but his face was inexplicably strange. Anton. Beside him, Eddie looked nervous and said in a deep voice, let's leave here. The missile is about to be launched. Don't worry. Anton even crossed his legs. Let it launch. I really want to see the power of the ex-wife missile. What? Eddie opened his eyes wide, wondering if Anton's brain was stuck in the door. That's a missile. Even if Anton is Batman, he is not wearing armor and has no protection at all. Who gave you the courage to attack him head on? Damn it. On the other side, Tony frowned and saw that all the cannons on the stage were aimed at him. He was shocked and ordered Jarvis to drive the R8 parked next to the booth in and retreated a few steps. Whoosh! The roar of the car came quickly. But at this time, the ex-wife missile on the shoulder of the war machine worn by Rod had been launched. Help. Damn Hammer Company, I don't want to die yet. The out-of-control crowd wailed. The faces of more than a dozen people near Tony changed drastically. Their hearts were about to jump out of their chests. Their legs were trembling. They couldn't stand steadily, and they almost peed their pants. Boom! Exclamation mark. The missile on Rod's shoulder was launched and rushed straight towards Tony. Seeing this, Harry, who was wearing biological armor, riding a flying skateboard, and announcing that he had become a superhero, rushed up at a very fast speed not far away. Unexpectedly, just after announcing that he had become a superhero, the business took the initiative to come to the door. Is this fate? Harry thought as he rushed to where Tony was, his eyes locked on the missile that cut through the air and rushed towards Tony like lightning. Even though he was wearing biological armor, he didn't intend to foolishly take the missile head on. However, there was a way to save Tony's life. Tony, get out of the way. Not far away, Pepper's eyes were filled with panic. However, she was overwhelmed by worry. Not only did she not retreat, but she also didn't know fear and rushed straight towards Tony. Boom! Exclamation mark. At the same time, the huge car mecha transformed from R8 that many people expected took off into the air. Unfortunately, at this critical moment, no one cared. Everyone was busy running for their lives. In less than half a minute, this most central and largest exhibition hall was in chaos. At the critical moment, the mecha that flew like lightning finally blocked Tony. The sharp wind was like a blade, waving in all directions, scratching the faces of people around. Pepper also came to Tony. Tony's face was solemn. He reached out his big hand and dragged Pepper to hide behind the chair. Ding! Exclamation mark. The ex-wife missile came in front of the R8 mech. Harry also arrived at the scene. The biological armor transformed into a shield. Then, when he saw the mech appear, he simply came to Tony's side and protected him and Pepper with the shield. Puff! Ding ding ding. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the ex-wife missile fired a dud and then fell to the ground. Seeing this, the whole audience was silent for at least 10 seconds. Anton in the corner couldn't help laughing. Is this the ex-wife missile? It's really good and cheap, with a variety of functions, and the range and accuracy are really good, but this power seems to have some problems. Although the sound was not loud, it reached everyone's ears in this dead silent environment. Justin Hammer was speechless. Finally, he couldn't help it. He sat on the ground and began to doubt his life. He wished he could find a crack in the ground to crawl into. Even if the war machine of the Iron Soldier and Rhodes was out of control now, in his opinion, it was not as embarrassing as the missile misfiring in the early stage. This is a missile that Hammer has been building for several years. The US military has signed a multi-billion-dollar order. Even if it was not intentional, the misfire of this missile can almost make Hammer lose the US military as a major customer. How could this happen? Tony stood up with Pepper in his arms, looked at Justin Hammer on the stage, and then looked at Rod wearing War Machine. That's it? He spread his hands. After saying that, he glanced at Harry beside him. His eyes stayed on the biological armor for a second, and confirmed that this was definitely not an nano armor. Tony, I can't control the armor. Then, Rod's shout attracted his attention. Rod didn't care about the misfire of his ex-wife's missile, and anxiously ordered through the armor. Evacuate the crowd quickly. Someone is controlling my armor. Who is controlling the armor? Tony looked around. His eyes suddenly swept over Anton and others in the corner, and he breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. Since Anton is here, even if the situation is out of control, it will not be so bad that it cannot be saved. His eyes just glanced and quickly passed by. Judging from the misfired missile fired by Rhodes and the actions of the steel soldiers behind him, the enemy was coming for him. Although he breathed a sigh of relief, the heavy stone in his heart had not completely fallen. Boom! Exclamation mark. Suddenly, there was a violent sonic boom overhead. A meteor came. Just like Rhodes' appearance before, a mysterious man in armor fell from the sky, landed with a bang, and stepped on the exhibition stand to make a dent. This armor was also silver. It was just one size larger than the normal armor. Of course, it was not as good as the car mecha that Tony transformed from a car, but compared with Rhodes' war machine beside him, it looked much more majestic. Damn it. Rhodes stared at the man next to him, knowing that this man must be the culprit. It's you. It's you who controlled my armor. Who are you? Chapter 181 The sudden appearance of Electric Man. Rhodes' questioning voice resounded throughout the booth. As soon as these words came out, everyone's expressions were either solemn or calm, and they all turned their heads to look at the mysterious man in armor who suddenly appeared on the stage. Swish. The mysterious man spread his hands and swung out a blue electric whip. The two electric whips exposed his identity. Snap. The man unfolded the mask on his helmet, revealing a rough face. The public was not familiar with this man's appearance. But at this time, there were not many people who were just watching the show. Everyone was a knowledgeable person, especially Tony Stark. Although the current plot has changed slightly from the original time and space, Ivan Vanko did not provoke in advance until it was exposed after the incident, but the general situation has not changed. It's you. Tony looked at the man who had been seriously injured by him. His face darkened, and then he sneered. I was wondering how Hammer Company could possibly make the arc reactor. It turns out it was you. So it seems that you were the one behind the missile just now. It was me. Ivan admitted it and laughed. How could I let you die so easily? The missile was just a joke on you, and I will be serious next time. Get ready, Tony. Ivan Vanko. Eddie was stunned when he saw that face. It was him. I thought he was dead. After a pause, he thought of what Anton had said before and lowered his voice. Anton, you knew that Ivan was behind this, right? I said. His target is Tony. Anton still sat in the chair calmly, looking at the confrontation in front of him, his face unchanged. Let's just watch the show. But why? Eddie was puzzled. He almost died at Tony's hands last time, and this time he came back hard. Why does he and Tony Stark have such a big grudge? This is a feud. Anton narrowed his eyes and said, his father was once an important employee under Howard Stark, but was later expelled from the country by Howard for some reason. His father was a Soviet. After returning to the Soviet Union, he was not valued until the Soviet Union became Russia and finally died. So, Ivan Vanko wants to avenge his father? Eddie suddenly realized. Not only that, Anton added, Tony's arc reactor technology was started as early as the last century during Howard's time, and Ivan's father was one of the main persons in charge of this project. Although the project did not produce any results in the end, the data left by this project has been kept in the computer of Stark Industries, including Ivan's father's mind. I see, it's really a feud. Eddie took a breath, turning his head and staring at the confrontation between the two parties in front of him. He felt that it was getting more and more exciting. On Ivan Vanko's side, there was Rhodes who was under his control, and a group of steel soldiers behind him. On Tony's side, besides Tony, there was only Harry Osborn who just announced that he would become a superhero, and happened to be present. In comparison, Tony and the others were slightly weaker. But Anton and Eddie knew that this battle could not be simply counted by the number of people. Some watched, some fought. No one knew that at this time, there was another person hiding in the corner. He stared at Harry Osborn, who had just announced that he would become a superhero, with extremely hateful eyes. His name was Maximum Dillon, and he was a black man. As an electrical engineer, he was talented, but frustrated in the workplace. The circuit of Oscorp was based on his plan, but he never received any reward from Oscorp. An accident not long ago completely changed his life. However, this change did not make him reused by the company as he thought, but pushed his life into the abyss. Because of an accident, he fell into the water tank where mutant electric eels were raised inside Oscorp. Maximum did not die, but became a monster. A powerful monster. After Oscorp learned about his situation, they intended to imprison him for a search, but he ran away. Maximum was extremely angry and wanted revenge. Ever since he knew that Oscorp would participate in the Stark Industries Technology Expo, he had been preparing for this day. Since Oscorp was going to participate, he naturally had to give Oscorp the heaviest blow during this period of public attention. At the same time, he announced to the public the arrival of a new supervillain. Long-term repression and unequal treatment from Oscorp caused Maximum's mind to become distorted. After he mutated and gained power, he chose to abandon his cowardly self in the past and become a strong man. After arriving at the expo, he patiently waited for the opportunity. Just as he was about to appear on the stage, the situation in front of him changed in a way that he had never expected. In a way, this situation is also good. Come on. Maximum grinned. The more chaotic the better. Today, let's announce the arrival of Electro to the whole of New York, and to you superheroes. The tense atmosphere gathered at the scene, and the battle was about to break out. Boom. The war machine driven by Rod suddenly took off into the air, and rushed towards Tony not far away. Tony put on his armor, and faced Rod's attack without changing his expression. Clang. Neither of them used hot weapons, but used the metal shells to collide, and the crisp sound of metal clashing resounded. Tony, I can't control the armor. Rod inside the war machine was extremely impatient and wanted to cry, but had no tears. It doesn't matter, Jarvis is cracking the program that Ivan left in your armor, but it will take some time. Tony replied. Although he was fighting with Rod, he never forgot Ivan Vanko not far away, so he asked Harry, do me a favor, and send Pepper away. No problem. Harry nodded, his eyes swept across Anton and Eddie, and then quickly retracted them. These two people should not need his help. The idea flashed through his mind, and he pulled Pepper to stand on the flying skateboard. Just as he was about to fly into the sky, take Pepper away from this area, and come back to help. Whoosh. Suddenly, a blue light flashed around him, and a lightning bolt came. Yes, it was a bolt of lightning, a real, crackling bolt of lightning. Bang! Harry was knocked away by the huge force of the lightning. Pepper fell down with him. Fortunately, the enemy's target was Harry, and Pepper just fell down and suffered some minor skin injuries. Ha 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 ha. After Harry was knocked away, his unbridled laughter resounded throughout the booth. Everyone was shocked to see this incident and turned their heads to see a man wearing a baggy grey sweatshirt and a hood. Zzzzzz. Although the man did not reveal his true face at the moment, his skin was flashing with amazing blue electric light. Who is it? Eddie in the corner was stunned. How come another person appeared? He looked at Anton, wanting to get some useful information from Anton, who seemed to know everything, but found that Anton's expression at this time was also confused. Finally, you don't know something. Eddie was about to remove a little bit of the mystery from Anton, when he heard Anton muttering to himself. Electric Man, why is this guy coming out too? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 182. Do you want to drive the fire truck back to die? You. Eddie was stunned and was astonished. Do you know who he is? As a star reporter in New York, he thought that there were few secrets in New York that could be hidden from him. As a result, Anton was worthy of being the boss, and this time he hit him hard. Of course I know. Anton didn't know Eddie's psychological activities and looked at him inexplicably. This guy is Maximum Dillon, nicknamed Electric Man, and was once an employee of Oscorp. An employee of Oscorp? Eddie continued to be stunned. Then why did he attack Harry Osborn? This can't be the wrong person, right? I haven't finished yet. Anton said. Maximum Dillon was once an electrical engineer at Oscorp, but Maximum's experience at Oscorp was not pleasant, and even the way he is now is related to Oscorp. So you understand? Another employee war. Eddie didn't know what to say. Again. Anton was stunned. He thought that the reason why Ivan Vanko hated Tony Stark was ultimately because of his father. His father was once Howard, and an employee of Howard. The Electro, Maximum Dillon, who appeared at this time, was also an employee of Oscorp and Harry. He laughed for a moment. As Eddie said, he really had to add again. However, Anton pondered for a moment, and suddenly felt that he understood a little bit why Oscorp came up with such an interesting idea to let Harry represent Oscorp as a superhero. This idea, which can be called taking a different approach, has never been a normal idea. Although Tony Stark became Iron Man, Tony's experience can never be regarded as common sense. Now the Electro Maximum Dylan appeared, which brought some enlightenment to Anton. There must be a problem within Oscorp, and Tony's performance brought inspiration to Harry and others. The internal problems of Oscorp are naturally represented by Maximum Dylan. You really showed up. At this time, Harry, who was knocked away by lightning, stood up staggeringly. With the biological armor transformed by the symbiote, the lightning did not cause much damage to him, including the attack brought by the lightning, which did not really hurt Harry. It can even be said that Pepper Potts was more seriously injured than Harry when she fell from the flying skateboard. At this time, as Harry spoke, he slowly walked in front of Maximum. The black biological armor and the mask completely covered his whole body, including his head. No one could see Harry's face at this time, but from Harry's tone, it was obvious that he had expected this scene. Superhero? Maximum hated Oscorp so much that his face was distorted and he gritted his teeth. He said harshly, "A representative of a dirty company is worthy of being a superhero. Don't think you are Batman." Dirty company? Harry sneered and said sarcastically, "Stop complaining about yourself, Maximum. Capital has always been ruthless and profit-seeking. As an employee of Oscorp, you have already enjoyed higher treatment than others, and you want to get more. All this is because of your greed. You used me for experiments." Maximum was extremely angry. "I became like this because of Oscorp. No, we are going to hand you over to the police and draw a tube of blood from you." Harry retorted calmly, "You overreacted, killed the security guard, and then ran away without hesitation. It's your own fault that you have fallen to this point today." Maximum's eyes were almost burning with flames. "You people always have such a condescending tone, which makes me sick. No matter what, you must die today. I will send you to hell to see your father. Then you may be disappointed." Harry raised his hand to summon the flying skateboard that fell to the side, looked at Maximum in front of him coldly, and suddenly attacked. Crack, crack, crack. Maximum's body was flashing with lightning, and when he saw Harry coming, he went forward without fear. The amazing lightning on his body made him look like a demon from hell, and his ferocious face made everyone present, except Anton, feel an unprecedented pressure. "It's really interesting." Ivan Vanko looked at the sudden situation that he had never expected and finally locked his eyes on Tony, who was confronting War Machine not far away. "Tony, you have no help now." As Ivan finished speaking, War Machine suddenly attacked and collided with Tony's car mecha again. Sharp, sharp, sharp. Although the missiles on War Machine were duds, the bullet reserves were quite sufficient. These bullets with armor-piercing properties, accompanied by the eruption of flames, rushed towards Tony like raindrops. Tony's face changed slightly. All the steel soldiers behind Ivan took action. Damn it. Tony looked around and realized that he had to lead these bastards away. He realized it in his heart, so he flew into the air and quickly moved away from this area and came to the small park next to the exhibition. Whoosh 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 whoosh. War Machine, Ivan's new whiplash armor, and all the iron soldiers behind Ivan flew into the sky at the same time, chasing Tony, who was moving away. At present, only Anton, Eddie, Pepper Potts, and Harry Osborn and Electro, who were fighting Maximum Dylan, were left on the battlefield. Pepper Potts finally found time to see Anton. "Where is Batman?" Pepper Potts trotted all the way, looking anxious. "Anton, why hasn't Batman come to help yet?" Anton spread his hands. "Batman already knows about this, but it happened too suddenly. It will take him some time to get here, right?" "Damn it." Pepper Potts cursed in a low voice, looking anxious, worried and nervous, fearing that Tony would fall into an unpredictable situation when facing Whiplash, War Machine and a group of iron soldiers. Anton. Eddie saw the fight between Harry and Electro, hesitated for a moment and said, "The situation seems to be out of control. I have to go help." "Go." Anton nodded and looked at Pepper. "In that case, I'll take you away." Stop talking. You'll only get in the way." Anton pulled Pepper away from the scene quickly. Eddie put down the camera in his hand and stretched his muscles, and then Venom appeared and took over his body. "Oh, I haven't come out for air for a long time." Eddie, who turned into Venom, turned his head and looked at the two people fighting not far away. "Venom, who shared the vision with Eddie, already belonged to the Earth and everything around Eddie, and of course knew who the enemy was. So he laughed, and his laughter was cruel. Electro. Speaking of which, his meat should taste good, and there is no need to add any seasoning. A few minutes later, Anton and Pepper ran to an open space. Anton looked around and caught a fire truck parked on the side of the road in the exhibition area in his memory, and his eyes lit up. This is the fire truck sent by the New York Fire Department. Due to the many situations at the expo, various advanced technological products may cause fires. In the case of a large number of people, all relevant preparations must be made. This gave Anton a chance. Okay. Anton told Pepper, find a safe place for yourself. I'll go back to help. How can you help? Pepper only knew that Anton was a director and a playboy like Tony, but he didn't have Tony's talent. What kind of help could such an ordinary person have? Go to die. Wait. Seeing Anton's actions, Pepper couldn't help but say, Anton, are you going to drive the fire truck back to die? Tomorrow's update has been moved from early morning to evening. As the title says, I will not stop updating. I will change the update time tomorrow. Normally, I should update in the early morning, but I can't write it today. I have an exam tomorrow. Although it feels very uncertain, I still have to respect the exam. I have to make some adjustments today. I will come back to write for you after the exam tomorrow. I will speed up the update in the next few days. April's daily 10,000. I remember it. Exclamation mark. Chapter 184. Anticlimax. The turtle is late. You want to deal with me? Maximum said. The electric light on his body was boiling like boiling water. Countless arcs of electric current spread from his body surface, and all his clothes were burned into strips by the electric current, revealing his distorted true face, with only a pair of pants hanging around his waist to prevent river crabs. You. He gritted his teeth, waved his hand and shot out an electric shockwave, like an arrow from a string, fiercely killing Anton in front of him. Anton did not move, allowing the shockwave to kill him. Boom! Exclamation mark. The electric shockwave swept across his cheek and burned a few strands of hair by his ear. The next moment, the tire of the fire truck at his feet burst instantly, and the entire lower part of the fire truck was smashed to pieces by the electric shockwave, like a disabled patient, paralyzed on the spot. Maximum saw this. His face became uglier. Anton smiled, his eyes calm as water, watching Maximum's actions. His face did not show any fear. This was just Maximum's threat. Maximum was obviously very angry. He deliberately sent an electric shockwave towards Anton, but narrowly avoided Anton's body, just to see even a trace of fear of himself on Anton's face. But Anton did not let him have his wish. Damn it. Damn you. Maximum became more and more crazy. Anton's calmness and even smile were the biggest provocation to him. Die. I want you to die. Maximum clenched his fist, and a spear made of electric current seemed to appear in his palm, pointing at Anton in front of him. This time, Maximum was not going to hold back. He was going to pierce Anton's chest with the electric spear, and then use the electric current to turn Anton's body into a pile of fragrant cooked meat. Anton didn't even bother to give him a look, and took down the water pipe next to the fire truck. Not far away, Harry and Venom looked at each other. The latter was still puzzled, but the former's eyes lit up, as if he understood Anton's idea. Maximum was blinded by anger, and did not anticipate the danger. He raised his lightning spear high, and rushed straight towards Anton, as if he saw Anton being pierced by the lightning spear, bleeding all over the ground, with a look of regret on his face. On the opposite side, Anton loosened the buckle of the fire hose in his hand. The pipe connected to the water tank was instantly filled with water. Boom. The water column sprayed out of the pipe like a cannon, covering Maximum all over. Zzzzzzzz. Maximum realized that something was wrong. His body short-circuited. His body can release 10 million volts of electricity, just like a battery or a power bank. But if a power bank falls into water, it will short-circuit, right? Maximum encountered this situation. Water, it can be regarded as his nemesis. Zzzzzzzz. Maximum collapsed to the ground in an instant, and the lightning spear in his hand dissipated immediately. His body, which was originally slightly suspended, immediately fell to the ground, his whole body twitching. His brain was blank, and his eyes lost their luster. It was not to the point of dying from a short circuit. As a mutant, Maximum's physical strength is far beyond that of ordinary people. But when he encounters an insurmountable water flow covering his whole body, it is enough to make him lose consciousness due to physical collapse. Look, isn't this very simple? Anton pulled down the buckle, turned off the water flow, put the water pipe back on the fire truck, turned back to stare at Harry and Venom in front of him, and shrugged. I told you he's easy to deal with. Harry and Venom were silent for a long time. Needless to say, Venom was completely dumbfounded. He didn't expect that such a difficult opponent who had been entangled with him for a long time could be extinguished so easily by Anton with a pipe of water. As for Harry, although he had an idea in his mind the moment Anton picked up the fire pipe and turned on the gushing water, like Venom, he didn't expect that this battle would end so anticlimactically. You are worthy of it. Venom nodded, and a humane admiration could be seen on his not so delicate big face. Then he retracted into Eddie's body, revealing Eddie's true form. Harry took off the mask of the biological armor, revealing his true face, staring at Anton in front of him, nodded, and was somewhat impressed. You are worthy of being Batman's comrade in arms. He suppressed his inner astonishment and praised sincerely. In the eyes of many people, the relationship between Anton and Batman is completely confused. Some people think that Anton is Batman, but others think that Anton is not Batman. Oscorp is one of the forces that knows more. But the more you know, the more confused you become. Now not many people still regard Anton as Batman, but it cannot be denied that Anton is Batman's spokesperson. So, Harry didn't say much. As Batman's spokesperson, Anton's performance at this time was completely within his expectations. I'll go help Tony Stark first. Harry glanced at Maximum who was lying on the ground in front of him and said, please help me keep an eye on him. No problem. Anton nodded. I think the New York Police Department will be here soon. Whoosh. Harry heard this and said nothing more. He stepped on the flying skateboard and flew into the sky, heading towards the place where fireworks were set off not far away. That was the battlefield between Iron Man and Whiplash. Beep beep. Soon, the New York Police Department arrived at the scene in a police car. Behind the police car, there was a truck with a turtle painted on it, and the words Turtle Chariot written on it. Huh. A slightly sharp and surprised voice suddenly resounded in this relatively quiet space. Is the battle over again? Bang. The side door of the truck was kicked open by someone, and several old acquaintances jumped out. After turning a few circles in the air and showing off, the turtles looked at each other, their eyes locked on Maximum who was lying on the ground, and they froze instantly. In addition to the New York Police Department, there were only 3 strangers at the scene. Anton, Eddie, and this man who was lying on the ground with dark blue skin and looked abnormal. Obviously, this guy has been defeated. Damn. Michelangelo cursed subconsciously. Are we late again? No. Anton pointed to the increasingly scarce fireworks in the distance. The fight is still going on over there. If you run fast, you can still get a second round. Go. Go. The 4 turtles looked at each other and rushed to the distant sky without hesitation. At their speed, a few minutes would pass. According to Anton, if they run fast, they can still catch up with the end. At least they can participate. Michelangelo looked happy and waved his hand. A skateboard with flames flew from the roof of the turtle chariot. Eddie was stunned. The skateboard looked familiar. However, based on the appearance, it was obviously not a product of Oscorp. That's the new equipment Donnie made for Mickey. George Stacy, the commissioner of the New York Police Department, saw the look in his old friend Eddie's eyes and added with a smile. Whoosh. As soon as the voice fell, the turtles caught the flying skateboard together. Shit. Michelangelo, who was standing on the skateboard, changed his face. You're too heavy. The flying skateboard couldn't bear the weight, swaying and wobbling, and flew up and down. Ha 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 ha. Here we come. Chapter 185. The sandstorm hits. Hammer is kidnapped. The turtles were dragged to the battlefield in the distance by the flying skateboards that were overloaded to the limit. Anton and others stayed where they were. George glanced at the stranger on the ground, pondered for a moment, touched his chin, and looked at the 2 people in front of him. Is this the guy who just made a scene at the booth? You mean the other one? Anton shrugged. This is the one who escaped from Oscorp. I know. It turned out to be him. George understood it all at once. When Maximum's mutation occurred, Oscorp notified the New York Police Department, but when the New York Police Department arrived, Maximum had already escaped from Oscorp, leaving only a mess. The New York Police Department collected some information and saved the video recording. However, Maximum at that time and the Maximum who fell to the ground, motionless and completely unconscious now are completely two different people. The former was majestic, with arcs of electric light all over his body. The latter was like a dead body. After communicating with Anton, George understood the whole story. However, Anton erased his role in this battle, and he did not intend to let others or the public know what he did. This little fame was not important to him at all. Besides, by dealing with Maximum, he had already gotten what he deserved. Arrest Electro, reward 2 million justice points. Justice points balance 32 million. In Anton's opinion, Electro had earned him 2 million justice points, which was the greatest contribution Electro had made to the world since his birth. So, that means that's the battle between Iron Man and another Iron Man. George touched his chin, turned to look at Anton and Eddie, and asked again, since you have been there, you should know the identity of the enemy, Ivan Vanko. Anton said, if you pay a little attention to the news, you will know that this person is the Russian who attacked Tony Stark in Monaco before. I know him. George narrowed his eyes. I heard that he was taken back to the United States after attacking Tony Stark and imprisoned in a special prison. He has some technology and some departments hope to get this technology from him. However, I didn't expect him to escape. You know all this? Anton glanced at the New York Police Commissioner in front of him and realized that this guy is the old village chief in the Marvel world, similar to James Gordon, so it is understandable that he has some special sources of intelligence. As for why the other party told him these things without any precautions and scruples, it was probably because of Batman's face. After all, this information is public to a certain extent. Of course. George smiled and nodded, a little proud. Ivan Vanko is imprisoned in a prison near New York. The subtext is obvious. Since Ivan Vanko is imprisoned in New York, then as a chief of the New York Police Department, he certainly cannot be unaware of this. Then you must not know who helped Ivan escape. Anton stared at George, who was slightly proud, and showed a meaningful smile. You even investigated this? George opened his eyes wide, and turned his head suddenly. Who is it? He immediately asked in a deep voice, who is so bold that he dared to help Ivan escape and made such an exaggerated armor? There are not many companies capable of making armor at this expo. Anton said, besides Stark Industries and Oscorp, who else do you think has such ability? Hammer Company. George instantly understood what Anton meant. The clues in his mind were connected into a line. Almost without thinking, he confirmed the authenticity of the information revealed by Anton and locked on the other party, Justin Hammer. In this way, things will become a big deal. George frowned slightly. He looked at the police officer beside him and ordered, find Justin Hammer and arrest him immediately. Paused, if I'm not mistaken, he should be nearby. The sudden incident at the expo disrupted everyone's deployment, including Justin Hammer. The appearance of Whiplash and Electric Man caught everyone off guard. Justin Hammer is definitely one of them. In this case, Justin should not be busy fleeing the scene, but will think about making up for the mistake. The best way is of course, to find someone to take the blame. If the New York Police Department can arrest Justin Hammer first, maybe they can dig out some unusual information from him. This is the credit of the New York Police Department. It's also George's achievement. Understood. The police nodded and immediately ordered everyone who followed to spread out in all directions to look for Justin Hammer's traces. The Electric Man in front of Anton and others was tied up by George with special handcuffs. These are special handcuffs that tech geek Donatello made for the New York Police Department. Even some people with extraordinary abilities cannot break these handcuffs, which are perfect for tying up Maximum. Anyway, Maximum has lost consciousness at this time, and his body is short-circuited under the impact of the water flow, and the power in his body is estimated to be lost. In the future, as long as Maximum is not given the opportunity to replenish his power, Maximum will only be an ordinary person with physical fitness beyond ordinary people, and he will not be able to cause any trouble. Anton saw this and didn't care. The electric man is just a small role, and he doesn't take it seriously. The focus at this time should still be on the battle between Iron Man and Whiplash, which is not far away, and is expected to end soon. I don't know if the turtles will go in time. Anton looked up at the sky in the distance, which had already calmed down. He guessed that Tony had solved those troublesome iron soldiers and started to fight with Whiplash face to face. On the other side, the police officers who were ordered by George to find Justin soon found the chairman of Hammer Company at a gathering place of Hammer Company outside the expo. "Mr. Justin Hammer, please come with us. We need your help to investigate a case." The police officers gathered and looked at each other, but were stopped by Justin's bodyguard. Justin was not in a hurry. "I don't know if you are real police officers." Justin smiled and looked at the police officers in front of him, with coldness in his eyes. "I suspect you are my enemies pretending to be police officers to kidnap me. Here are our IDs." The police officer just took out the police badge from his pocket. Boom! Exclamation mark. A strong gust of wind and sand blew from the roadside, like a hard slap, ruthlessly slapping everyone's cheeks. The wind and sand attacked like a whirlwind, enveloping everyone present, blowing everyone unable to open their eyes, and only felt a blur in front of them. The next moment, when the police opened their eyes again, they found that Justin Hammer in front of them had disappeared. The police looked at each other. Gone. Justin's bodyguard's faces also changed drastically. "It's him. It's that man. Damn it. The boss has been kidnapped." Chapter 186. George has a headache. Shield steals the credit. What? George's face was grim. After hearing the report from his police officers, he suspected that he was listening to a story, not an accident. He repeated the report from his police officers, suppressed his anger, and gritted his teeth. "You mean, when you were questioning, sand blew in front of you, and everyone couldn't open their eyes? When they opened their eyes, Justin Hammer had been kidnapped and disappeared." "Yes." The police officer looked aggrieved and nodded. George asked, "How do you know this is a kidnapping?" The police officer said, "The bodyguard said so. They said that the person who kidnapped Justin Hammer was an enemy of Justin and possessed strange abilities." "Strange abilities?" George narrowed his eyes. Even if he was a little suspicious, he couldn't say anything. "Humph. Put those bodyguards in jail and interrogate them as soon as possible. When we go back, I want to know who is the person who kidnapped Justin Hammer." "Strange abilities. I really want to know who can summon sand to kidnap people." "Sand to kidnap people?" Anton stood beside George and heard the conversation between George and the police officer. His face was a little strange. From the word wind and sand, he thought of a person. However, he couldn't be sure. "You also think it was a kidnapping?" Anton looked at George curiously. In his opinion, as the chief of the New York Police Department, George Stacy shouldn't jump to conclusions so quickly. "It can't be a kidnapping," George said coldly. "I have never seen such a coincidental kidnapping case. It must be someone Justin Hammer found to play a trick with him." "I think so too," Anton agreed, "but you don't have any evidence. So we can only put his bodyguard in the interrogation room. Although I don't think Justin will leave such an obvious flaw, this is the only way at present." George frowned and suddenly looked at Anton. "Where is Batman?" "What do you want to say?" "I want to ask Batman to help investigate the whereabouts of Justin Hammer and the identity of the so-called robber who kidnapped Justin. I'll help you tell him, but I can't guarantee whether it will work or not." "Enough. Thank you." The two sides ended their communication and George began to clean up the scene. Anton calmed down. "Anton, you must know something." Eddie saw George walking away, looking at Anton's face. Always felt that this scene was familiar. He asked curiously, "What does that sandstorm remind you of?" Anton said, "It reminds me of someone." "Eddie, who?" Anton pondered for a moment, thinking of the information he got when he was collecting intelligence about Hammer Corporation, and said, "Do you still remember that about a few months ago, when Justin was about to take over Oscorp, a physics laboratory in New York was closed? It is said that there was an error in the experiment and the expensive particle accelerator was damaged." "Of course I remember. I gave you this information." Eddie pondered for a moment, opened his eyes wide. "That physics laboratory is a high-end technology laboratory under Hammer Corporation." "You mean?" He paused, becoming more curious. But what does this have to do with this matter? Anton asked back. Remember how Maximum mutated and became an electric man? You mean someone was affected by the particle accelerator and mutated? Eddie was shocked. The surprise in his heart could not be described in words. The probability of encountering two mutants with similar experiences in one night is much smaller than that of witnessing a battle of armors. Mutation is definitely a very low probability event of 1 in a billion. Armor. Technological means. It is a result that can be achieved as long as there is money. The former will not talk to you at all, but the latter will at least talk to you about science. Do you know who he is? Of course, I call him Sandman. Anton was about to continue. Boom! Exclamation mark. In the sky not far away, the sky was filled with flames, accompanied by a huge mushroom cloud. A huge airwave swept in, and the strong and powerful air ripples were like ripples on the lake. The fireworks like fireworks embellished New York at night, but it did not make people feel beautiful, but made everyone present feel chilled. The sky was filled with grey smoke, and the smell of burning instantly floated in the air. Boom. After the mushroom cloud, the fireworks like fireworks did not disappear, but continued to explode one after another. All the way there was a battlefield between Tony and Whip. Obviously, the battle between Iron Man and his men has ended, and the criminal who started the war has been killed. Damn it. How much money will it cost to pay? If there are casualties, all our work tonight will be in vain. George Stacy looked at the huge explosion in the distance. His face darkened, thinking silently, and he knew what happened without asking any more questions. Beep beep. The communicator on his chest suddenly sounded. Chief. The voice of Leonardo, the boss of the Turtles, came from the other side. The enemy is dead. But he blew himself up. He's not the only one who blew himself up, right? George took a deep breath. Yes. Another voice interrupted, and was broadcast through the police's dedicated communication channel. All the Iron Soldiers were tampered with by Ivan Vanko, including Ivan Vanko and all the Iron Soldiers. They all exploded. It's over. George's eyes were blank, looking at the remaining flames in the distance. I can't get off work tonight. Tony. He suddenly clenched the communication in his hand, and gritted his teeth and said, Stark Industries must be responsible for this. Hey. Tony didn't intend to take the blame. Iron Soldiers are products of Hammer Company. If you want to find someone, go find Justin Hammer. Stark Industries has withdrawn from the arms industry. I'm doing voluntary labor tonight. I won't ask you for the honorary citizen banner, which is worthy of the New York Police Department. Justin Hammer was kidnapped. George said. What? Tony on the other side of the communicator was stunned. What did you say? Tony and others who were out of the explosion range heard this conversation. Harry was also shocked. Justin Hammer was kidnapped. There is such a good thing. On second thought, Justin Hammer was kidnapped at a critical time when Hammer Corporation encountered problems. Why does it sound so much like a retreat at the height of his career? What a coincidence. Harry's eyes flickered, and he realized the key. If he could think of this, Tony Stark would not fail to think of it. I'll keep paying attention. Tony gave George the answer he expected. In fact, this was the answer George wanted to hear. Puff puff puff. At this time, a helicopter arrived at the scene from the distant sky. Several figures that George hated and didn't want to see got off the helicopter. Is SHIELD going to take advantage of this again? George crossed his arms and looked at the visitor coldly. Coulson, don't tell me that this matter should be the responsibility of your SHIELD again. If you can bear all the losses of this incident, I don't mind giving you the initiative. Chapter 187 ending. George's request. Hearing George's undisguised, slightly disgusted words, Coulson smiled bitterly. Just as he was about to answer, he heard a huge sonic boom in the sky not far away. Boom! Exclamation mark. Woohoo, this armor is flying so fast. It's going to fall. Be careful. Hey, look at me, brothers, you look so lame. At the same time, noisy noises exploded in the ears of Anton and others. Everyone looked up and saw that it was Tony, Rhodes, and Harry, the three armored men who returned to the largest booth at the expo. During their flight, they also brought 3 turtles with them. Michelangelo stepped on his own flying skateboard and landed safely. He glanced at the skateboard under Harry's feet and compared it. He felt that the skateboard under his feet was not inferior to the technology of Oscorp and nodded with satisfaction. Faces saved. Director George, we are not late this time. Our people have arrived at the scene a long time ago and even contributed a lot. Coulson smiled slightly when he saw Tony. Your people? George showed a questioning look and said coldly, what are you talking about in your sleep? I didn't see anyone from your shield from beginning to end. Tony Stark, special consultant of SHIELD, also belongs to SHIELD's Special Operations Team, the Avengers, which is a superhero team similar to the Justice League. Coulson introduced George. Tony is an official member of the Avengers. George was speechless for a moment. On the surface, he remained calm and his eyes wandered around Tony. Tony's mouth twitched, and he looked at Coulson and George again. He always felt that he had become the scapegoat inexplicably. That's great. George pondered for a moment, suddenly showed a strange smile, and said, in this case, SHIELD should be responsible for the losses suffered in this incident, right? As soon as these words came out, the whole audience was silent, and you could hear a pin drop. Anton almost laughed out loud. George is really a little clever. Generally speaking, if there is a terrorist attack in New York, it must be the law enforcement agency in New York that is responsible. But now the people from SHIELD took the initiative to ask for the lead, so the losses in this incident will naturally be borne by the person who took the lead. Not to mention, this person who asked for the lead also gave George a reason that he couldn't refuse. They are the parties involved. Who are the parties involved? In addition to Ivan Vanko, who has probably turned into ashes, of course it is Iron Man, Tony Stark, who is fighting against Ivan. From Coulson's words, Tony happens to be a special consultant of SHIELD and is also affiliated with SHIELD's Special Operations Team, the Avengers. Of course, SHIELD and Tony Stark should bear this part. How is it? George laughed. Since SHIELD is in charge of this matter, the New York Police Department really doesn't mind cleaning the ground for you this time. He stared at Coulson with interest, looking forward to what answer the latter would give. SHIELD will be responsible for this. Coulson smiled bitterly. Just as George thought, Coulson had no choice at all. The relationship between SHIELD and the New York Police Department was already tense, and now George didn't even have a good face for them. If SHIELD defaults, they will be targeted by George when they enter New York in the future. Besides, SHIELD has a reason to take over the initiative of this incident from George. Ivan Vanko. This guy's involved in some of SHIELD's early projects. Moreover, the arc reactor controlled by Ivan also needs to be dealt with by SHIELD afterwards, and a considerable number of traces need to be erased. These contents cannot be found by the New York Police Department. Otherwise, it will cause great dissatisfaction in the United States. The simplest example is that SHIELD obviously has the technical information of the arc reactor, but it turned a deaf ear to the previous questions of the US military. Therefore, even if it knows that George Stacy intends to blackmail, SHIELD has to pinch its nose and admit it. They must clean up their tails to avoid getting into trouble. Okay, let's go. George waved his hand. Brothers, leave this to SHIELD. Okay, understood. The police officers were all paying attention to the current situation. Hearing George's shout, they knew that they might not have to work overtime tonight, and they all became excited. Thank you, SHIELD. Someone even shouted, full of teasing. Before George left, he looked at Anton and asked, do you need me to give you a ride? Hearing this, Anton nodded, of course. After that, he looked around, led Eddie to George's police car, and left the scene with everyone in the police station. The turtles did not stay for too long. They participated in the battle and had a good time. In fact, the New York Police Department did not gain nothing tonight. Maximum the Electro was their trophy of success. SHIELD may know the existence of Maximum, but Coulson and others are not interested in mutants like Maximum. All mutants are not replicable. Even if SHIELD captured Electro, they could only keep him in prison and eat dry food, and it would not play any extra role. So Coulson only planned to clean up SHIELD's own ass and did not intend to pay attention to Electro. Well, I won't bother you anymore. Seeing this, Harry stepped on the flying skateboard, turned into a meteor, and flew towards the direction of the Oscorp building. The Steel Soldiers of Hammer Company rioted. Justin Hammer was kidnapped and suspected of running away. Doesn't this give Oscorp a chance to take revenge, or even seize the market and develop vigorously? Such a good opportunity must be seized. So, only the people of S.H.I.E.L.D. and half of S.H.I.E.L.D. members, Tony Stark, were left at the scene. Maybe. Tony stared at Coulson with a bad look. I need an explanation. Although this matter has something to do with him, the relationship is not as exaggerated as Coulson described. Obviously, S.H.I.E.L.D. has concealed some information. I will explain it to you in detail. Coulson said seriously. Before that, you have to know that this matter is related to your father. Ivan Vanko's father was once a colleague of your father. They worked together to develop the arc reactor. What? Tony's eyes widened. He immediately understood why the arc reactor made by Ivan Vanko was so similar to his technology. It turned out that they were from the same source. On the other side, George in the police car was talking to Anton. Anton, regarding Justin Hammer, I hope you and Batman can pay more attention. Although George was very happy to have dug a hole for SHIELD, he was more concerned about his own affairs. Even if SHIELD stated that it would be responsible for the whipping incident caused by Ivan Vanko, the New York Police Department could not completely stay out of it and not participate in anything. The key lies in Justin Hammer and the Hammer Company behind him. Justin is an important link that cannot be avoided in this incident. More importantly, Justin Hammer was kidnapped in front of the New York Police Department. Of course, whether it was really a kidnapping remains to be discussed. However, it is undeniable that George Stacy believes that the New York Police Department needs to find out the truth about Justin Hammer's kidnapping. If it is true as George thought, that Justin Hammer directed and acted in this so-called kidnapping case deliberately in order to turn from light to dark and retreat at the height of his career, then George swore that he would make Justin Hammer regret it. Chapter 188 Phil's debut. Best chance. Don't worry, I will tell Batman about this immediately, and he will help us find the answer. Anton replied. After hearing this, George was relieved and smiled. I trust Batman. Soon, at Anton's request, the two of them got off at the building where the Daily Bugle was located. It was already night. The evening breeze was blowing, and the street lights were dim. Eddie looked around and felt that someone was missing. Where's Phil? Anton pondered for a moment and waved his hand. He knew to come back. Let's discuss the issue of Justin Hammer first. Right. Eddie's eyes lit up. You haven't told me who the person who took Justin Hammer away is. Sandman. Anton said. His name is Flint Malko. He was originally a street gangster, but because he escaped from the police, after escaping from prison, he accidentally broke into the physics laboratory of Hammer Company and fell into the particle accelerator. Fortunately, under the influence of radiation, he has the ability to control sand. Strictly speaking, Sandman actually has two names. William Baker is the real name of the Sandman. He used the alias Flint Malko when committing crimes. But in the original version of the Spider-Man movie, the Sandman used the name Flint Malko. The many versions that followed are basically the same, and the background is almost the same. In short, it was because he escaped from prison to avoid arrest, was involved in an experimental accident and luckily survived, and also had the ability to control sand. In the world where Anton lives, he doesn't know much about the Sandman Flint Malko, but his memory was enhanced by the Goldfinger. After what happened today, he immediately recalled that a few months ago, at the request of Norman Osborn, the Green Arrow clone went to Osborn to help and saw a document before leaving. It contained detailed information about Hammer Corporation. At that time, Hammer Corporation was the biggest obstacle to Harry's internal struggle in Osborn Corporation and his recovery of power. There are some news mixed in the information. After all, the information comes from the High Table and Eddie. Needless to say, the former, the latter, Eddie, as the editor-in-chief of the Daily Bugle, may not get much inside information, but he definitely has a lot of news. At that time, Flint Malko was mixed in the information-intensive materials and was swept away by Anton. However, there are so many people with the same name in the United States that no one knows how many people Tom, Jack, and Tony represent. Anton didn't take it to heart. But now combined with the current situation, he is almost certain that this Flint Malko is the classic villain in the Spider-Man series, the Sandman. The Sandman is actually mixed with Hammer Company. Anton touched his chin and found it quite interesting. Although the truth is still unclear, Anton is almost certain that Justin Hammer was kidnapped by the Sandman, which was a good show directed and performed by Justin himself. Justin was purely trying to evade arrest, hiding himself in the dark to remotely control Hammer Company, and looking for an opportunity to clear his name. The longer the time drags on, the better it is for him. As for Sandman, he is not a pure villain. In the original comics, Sandman even turned over a new leaf for a period of time and joined the Avengers. However, due to different ideas, Sandman did not forget his original intention and eventually withdrew from the Avengers and became a villain again. In the original movie version, Sandman was closely related to the death of Spider-Man's closest uncle Ben Parker, but he was not the culprit. After being forgiven by Spider-Man, he also wandered around the world with his sick daughter. In a sense, Sandman, Flint Marko, is not a pure villain. But it doesn't matter. Not being a pure villain does not mean that Sandman is an innocent person. This kind of stuff is not worth pity wherever it dies. Anton's current plan is to investigate the whereabouts of Sandman and catch the kidnapped Justin Hammer. If Sandman dares to hinder him, he will not show mercy. In fact, even if George doesn't speak, Anton will be very interested in investigating this matter. Justin Hammer was imprisoned, which was quite beneficial to him. The reason why the former directed and acted in such a kidnapping case was naturally to protect himself and Hammer Corporation. The situation of Hammer Corporation is basically the same as that of Stark Industries and Oscorp. Justin Hammer is the soul of Hammer Corporation. Once Justin is arrested, Hammer Industries, no matter how big it is, will immediately decline. Stark Industries and Oscorp will ruthlessly divide the cake that originally belonged to Hammer Corporation. Business is so ruthless. Especially now there is a newly established Wayne Company. Although no one cares about Wayne Company now, Anton will not forget his ambition to turn Wayne into the Wayne Group. This is a great opportunity for Wayne Company to intervene in the arms industry and grab the cake vacated by Hammer Company. If Justin Hammer is completely sent to prison, Hammer Company will collapse. The huge cake vacated is enough for Wayne Company to eat up in one breath. Anton turned his head and looked at Eddie while thinking. No way. Eddie swallowed his saliva, his face full of rejection. I'm ready to work late to write the news about the Stark Industrial Expo tomorrow morning. You won't ask me to investigate the truth about Justin Hammer's kidnapping? This is a thorny and troublesome matter, and it can't be done in one night. After a pause, he continued to cry miserably. Anton, I don't want to lose my hair anymore. For a man who is no longer young, hair is very important. Okay. After hearing what Eddie said, Anton, who also felt that hair was very important, racked his brains and finally remembered that he still had a younger brother, so he immediately said, let Phil come back quickly. Hasn't he always wanted to have a stage to debut as a superhero? This is the opportunity. A moment later, Phil, who had been forgotten for who knows how many times, finally came late. He looked at Anton and Eddie with a face full of grievance. Boss, Editor-in-Chief, you forgot me again, right? How is it possible? Anton and Eddie looked at each other and said the same sentence at the same time. Don't think too much. Eddie paused, and seeing that Anton didn't say anything, he said, we just encountered some minor problems. Anton said, they have all been solved. Eddie said again, now I'm looking for you to come here, because there is a more difficult matter that needs you to do. Anton said seriously, haven't you always wanted to debut as a superhero? Eddie nodded, this is the best opportunity. Anton agreed, you definitely don't want to miss it. What is it? Phil was suspicious, always feeling that he was fooled. But Anton and Eddie in front of him looked serious, without showing any expression of being bothered, but like the head of a secret agent who was distributing confidential tasks with superb speech skills. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 189 Shooting Plan. Smallville. First, you have to find someone. His name is Flint Marko. He is your enemy. Anton and Eddie exchanged glances and words, and before Phil could react, they had arranged everything clearly. Flint Malco. Phil was stunned. This rather unfamiliar name made him look confused and unable to respond. Flint Malco is a street gangster. He accidentally mutated because of escaping prison to avoid being hunted down. He can turn into sand and control sand. We call him Sandman, just like Electro. No, you walked a little fast just now and didn't see Electro. Anton thought for a while and said, in short, your enemy is Flint Malco, but your target is not him, but the kidnapped Justin Hammer. Justin Hammer was kidnapped. Phil finally came back to his senses. When he heard this, his pupils dilated, staring at Anton and Eddie in front of him, stunned. You call this a small situation? Anton and Eddie saw Phil's reaction, looked at each other, and sighed. Phil probably didn't even hear half of what he just said. You go work overtime first. Anton waved his hand at Eddie. I'll tell him. Okay. Eddie walked into the building first. Anton led Phil to his office in the Daily Bugle. After spending some time again, Phil finally understood the current situation. So, you think the kidnapper who kidnapped Justin Hammer is Flint Malco? As long as we find Flint, we can find Justin Hammer who is hiding? Phil thought for a moment and nodded. I understand. He understood why Anton said that this was the best time for him to debut as a superhero. This matter is not big or small. It has nothing to do with national security, but it involves the life and death of a multinational company and an arms giant. Justin Hammer is the key. Sandman Flint Malco is the level that Phil must face to achieve his goal. At that time, he will put on the evil ghost suit transformed from the Green Goblin suit to fight the Sandman, and then announce Justin Hammer's crime in public. Phil's eyes lit up. As Anton said, this is his best chance to debut as a superhero. Just thinking of this scene, he was so excited that he trembled all over. Boss. Phil stared at Anton, his tone firm and decisive. This must be done by me. Don't worry, it's your mission. No one will hinder you. Anton smiled and said, okay, you go and do your work first. Collect Flint Malco's information as soon as possible and find out where he is hiding. I don't need to teach you what to do when the time comes. Understood. Phil took action immediately. This time he learned to be smart. While calling the Continental Hotel and contacting internal personnel to retrieve Flint Malco's files, he went home to get his equipment. The Sandman is a mutant. If you encounter him, you must be able to suppress him. As for why he called the Continental Hotel, as a formal member of the Justice League, this is his privilege. The next day, the terrorist attack in New York City, that is, the incident at the Stark Technology Expo, naturally became a hot topic in the news. Countless people began to discuss the news about the riot of the Steel Soldiers of Hammer Company. At the same time, Justin Hammer was mysteriously kidnapped and came into everyone's sight. The stock price of Hammer Company fell in response. But it seems that it is still within the tolerance range of Hammer Company. Although the soul of Hammer Company is missing now, the company's senior executives have decisively contacted the military and seem to have made a lot of promises like cutting meat, so they have not lost military orders. The negative news that is endless on the surface only represents the heated public opinion and cannot represent the chaos behind this incident. The situation fell into a strange calm. The commissioner of the New York Police Department, George Stacy, was extremely angry. Justin Hammer was kidnapped in front of the New York Police Department, which should be the news blocked by the police. George believes that people who know this news will never disclose it casually, including Harry Osborn. However, now, this news has inexplicably spread throughout the streets and alleys along with the changes in the Stark Industrial Expo. There is obviously someone behind this who is fanning the flames. Justin Hammer, you bastard. George can almost conclude that the black hand behind this must be related to Justin Hammer. He can also conclude that Justin Hammer's kidnapping must be directed and acted by this guy. Of course, these have nothing to do with Anton, and things have not yet developed to the point where he can take action. After instructing Phil to find Flint Malco's trace and hunt down Justin Hammer, Anton took a plane back to Los Angeles the next day to continue filming Wonder Woman. Time flies. More than 10 days have passed. In the arms industry, Oscorp seized the weakness of Hammer Company and snatched many non-military orders from Hammer Company. But as long as the military does not cancel the order, it will only cause Hammer Company to suffer minor injuries, and will not cause Hammer Company to suffer serious damage. The two sides fought fiercely. Anton, who is located in Los Angeles, stayed out of the matter and concentrated on filming the Wonder Woman movie. Finally, only the scraps of work were left unfinished. Anton breathed a sigh of relief, pulled himself out of the busy state, handed the remaining shooting plan to the assistant director, and contacted Jim at the same time to make a detailed plan for the next few movies of DC. Anton, who has temporarily lost interest in making movies, does not plan to continue to be a director. But the next movie is quite important. Batman v Superman. Yes, Anton temporarily gave up the plan to shoot the third Batman, The Dark Knight Rises, and prepared to directly release the explosive material to strengthen the people of this world's understanding of Superman. Anyway, The Dark Knight Rises, the end of the Batman prequel trilogy, did not score high. Although the box office made a lot of money, for Anton now, making money is not the purpose at all, and it can be left to shoot when he has time in the future. In Anton's conception, using Batman's fame to drive Superman's popularity will definitely bring Superman a lot of fans. In order to enhance the audience's sense of substitution, Anton also plans to shoot an American TV series to warm up for Batman v Superman. The American TV series is tentatively titled Smallville, and the villain is set to be Lex Luthor. Batman will appear in this American TV series as Bruce Wayne, the chairman of the Wayne Group, as an Easter egg. On the one hand, it attracts attention, and on the other hand, it is also a warm-up for Batman v Superman. Chapter 190, The Best Stage. Now the system panel shows that Superman's fan value is 37 million. Since Man of Steel was released, compared with The Flash, which is currently being broadcast, Superman's fan value has increased much more slowly, which can be called a turtle speed, and it is completely unbearable. On the other hand, driven by the American TV series The Flash, even Wonder Woman's fan value has exceeded the 8 million mark. In the next episode, Wonder Woman will appear again in the Flash series. At that time, Wonder Woman's fan value will definitely usher in another climax. Combined with the Wonder Woman movie that will be completed and released immediately after post-production, Wonder Woman's fan value will definitely quickly exceed the 30 million mark. Anton, who has tasted the sweetness of American TV series, will of course continue to produce American TV series to attract more people to pay attention to Superman. After all, it takes a full 100 million fans to exchange for Superman. This number is definitely terrifying. However, according to the time period, it will take at least half a year for Batman v Superman to be completed and released. It seems long, but it is actually short. Anton can afford to wait. After all, if you count the Smallville that is about to start production, and then Batman v Superman, by that time, even if Superman's fan value cannot break through the 100 million mark, it can be close to the 100 million threshold. Superman is in sight. Anton was excited and wanted Jim and others to take action immediately and devote themselves to the work. Of course, although he was a black-hearted boss, he was not so black-hearted as to ignore common sense. Jim was already busy. He did not have the same ability as Anton to split himself, and he could not promote the production of the Superman TV series while he was busy with the related work of the Wonder Woman movie and the Flash TV series. Wonder Woman will be finished soon, and you will immediately devote yourself to the production of the Superman TV series after it is finished. Anton ordered. Before that, I will let Betty prepare for the relevant work first, and you will be in charge of it at that time. No problem. Jim breathed a sigh of relief. He saw a bit of fanaticism in Anton's eyes, and was really afraid that Anton would push forward on multiple fronts regardless of everything, which would cause him to die suddenly from work. Okay, that's it. Anton nodded. Prepare the plane. I have to go back to New York immediately. There are things I need to deal with there. Okay, good luck. Jim watched Anton leave the set. New York. The Daily Bugle. Damn guys, I finally found you. Phil looked at the map of New York in front of him and smiled brightly. After more than 10 days of searching, he finally found the clues left by Flint Malco. Originally, he thought that with the help of the Continental Hotel and his channels as a reporter, it would not be difficult to find a gangster in New York. But until he took action, he deeply realized how deep the water was. There was a mysterious force that interfered and almost wiped out all traces of the Sandman, Flint Malco. There was no consumption record of Flint Malco on the internet. Flint seemed to have evaporated from the face of the earth, disappearing with Justin Hammer. Yes, the news of Justin Hammer's kidnapping has spread throughout the streets of New York. The whole world knows that the chairman of Hammer Corporation has been kidnapped and his life and death are unknown. However, the robbers who kidnapped the chairman of this giant company responded with silence in the following 10 days, and no news came out. Just like the scene when Iron Man Tony Stark disappeared in Afghanistan more than half a year ago. The uninformed people even felt that the people who kidnapped Tony Stark at the time were the same group of people who kidnapped Justin Hammer now. As an insider, Phil got all the information from Anton. He certainly knew where this force that wiped out Flint Marco's actions came from. It was the victim in everyone's eyes, Hammer Corporation. So Phil changed his mind. He guessed that Flint Marco must have changed his identity with the help of Hammer Corporation. So through the original life circle of Sandman Flint, he locked on a person that Flint would never give up. Flint's daughter. This little girl, who was only a few years old, was seriously ill, and her only father was missing. She should have been lying in bed waiting to die. But before Flint disappeared, he left a large sum of money in his account, enough to pay for the little girl's medical expenses. The little girl had new hope. Phil was sure that Flint would not ignore his daughter, even if he left enough money to pay for his daughter's medical expenses. As a father, he would definitely find a chance to come back to see his daughter when it was absolutely safe. Even if he didn't talk, he would feel much more at ease. To this end, Phil made good use of his resources, found Donatello from the Ninja Turtles, connected to Flint's daughter's ward, and monitored her at all times. After waiting for almost 2 weeks, when Phil couldn't hold back, Flint finally appeared. At night, in the early hours of the morning, Flint turned into a gust of sand and floated into the empty ward from the window. Phil expected that Flint would not appear during the day, so he took a short nap during the day and monitored her at night. After more than a dozen nights of hard work, his biological clock was reversed, and finally there was a result. He was immediately excited. He immediately went to the hospital, wearing a devil suit, quietly followed Flint, and locked the location where Flint finally disappeared. Phil didn't rush to act. On the one hand, he had stayed up all night for so long, and he was not in good condition, so he might not be able to defeat the opponent. Transformed into wind and sand, this unique ability made it difficult for Phil to cause real damage to him. He had to be fully prepared to ensure victory. On the other hand, no one witnessed his debut at night. Phil, who fantasized about being majestic and majestic like Batman, showed himself to the public, but he didn't want to continue to be unknown and be a hero in the darkness. The Dark Knight was not the style he wanted. Even Anton, his boss, who proposed the concept of the Dark Knight, was definitely not such a style. Have you ever seen a superhero who made an autobiographical movie for himself? Besides, how could that be an autobiography? It was clearly a self-flattering movie. The Wayne Group is the largest consortium in Gotham City, comparable to, no, surpassing the real Stark Industries. Bruce Wayne has money power. He is a super playboy, with women on both sides, and has super strong beliefs. It simply satisfies the second-year fantasy of countless people when they were young, including his boss, Anton Jameson. When can I have my own independent movie? Phil's imagination was overflowing, and he made up his mind. After I debut, I must ask my boss to design an independent movie about evil spirits for me. The thought flashed through his mind. The sun shone into the house from the window. Whoosh! The morning breeze blew. It was working hours, and it was also the most crowded morning rush hour in New York City. Phil smiled. This was the best stage he had been waiting for. Chapter 191. It's you. It was rush hour at work. New York City was jammed with cars parked on the road and pedestrians on the street. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. At this moment, a man wearing a strange battle robe on a flying skateboard passed through the sky above their heads like a meteor. The sonic boom attracted a lot of attention. Huh? Flying skateboard? Is it Harry Osborn? No, this guy has nothing to do with Osborn. He's a new guy. Something must be happening. People looked at each other in bewilderment when they saw this scene. Some people thought that this guy was Harry Osborn, who had just announced his debut and became a superhero, but other knowledgeable people rejected it outright and realized that something was about to happen. The brave passers-by couldn't suppress their curiosity and quietly followed the suspended figure to the pier on the edge of Manhattan. They saw that the strange figure on the flying skateboard was hovering above the pier, looking at the rows of bungalows under their feet. "Come out, Flint Marko." The strange figure in everyone's eyes was Phil, who had just stepped onto the stage of his debut. At this moment, his calm words echoed throughout the dock. Many dock workers saw the figure above their heads, realized that something was strange, and that something might change, and immediately fled the scene. After they moved away, they hid in a safe place and looked back at the scene. Phil was still standing in the air. Whoosh! The wind around them gradually became stronger, and the yellow sand all over the sky rushed in their faces, making it difficult for people to open their eyes, as if the sand in the sandbags carried on the cargo ships at the dock was all blown out by this strange strong wind that came from nowhere. The audience far away had already realized that something was wrong. The wind and sand appeared very strangely. "Who are you?" A low voice came from the wind and sand. Phil smiled proudly upon hearing this. "My name is Evil Ghost, an official member of the Justice League, and I have received Batman's order to deal with you. However, on behalf of Batman, I can give you a chance to surrender. Hand over Justin Hammer honestly, and you will be able to get out in just a dozen years in prison." Humph. Another cold snort came from the wind and sand, and Flint obviously did not intend to surrender, just because of Phil's words. Whoosh. The next moment, the wind and sand seemed to form a tornado, carrying a huge force and killing Phil in midair. At the same time, the words that Phil just deliberately revealed were heard by the onlookers around. Everyone showed horror. This strange figure turned out to be an official member of the Justice League. Evil Ghost. Is he another new superhero? In addition, from the conversation just now, they heard that the guy that Evil Ghost wanted to deal with was actually the robber who kidnapped Justin Hammer. Hiss. Someone took a breath of cold air. This is no small matter. Push the time back 10 minutes. Anton got off the plane at the New York airport and took out the text message interface of his mobile phone. It was a message from Phil. When things reached a critical moment, Phil certainly would not forget to report his plan to his boss. After Anton agreed, Phil took decisive action. Arriving at New York, Anton looked at the time and knew that Phil was starting to move out at this time, so he called the Continental Hotel. "Anton, our people are ready." Winston was not nervous when he received Anton's call. He had contacted Phil before and knew the purpose of Anton's call. "Very good, let all your people go out," Anton ordered. "Phil will entangle Flint Marko, and your goal is to catch Justin Hammer." "No problem." Winston nodded, and he patted his chest on the other side of the phone to ensure that the task was completed. As one of the important spheres of influence of the high table in the United States, the Continental Hotel has now become a unique part of the high table's power. The reason is naturally Batman. The high table cannot bypass the Continental Hotel to contact Batman. To communicate with Batman or pass messages to Batman, it must go through the Continental Hotel. This is the rule set at the beginning. If the people of the high table go to the Daily Bugle or DC privately like at the beginning, to find Anton or Eddie with the intention of communicating with Batman, it is equivalent to breaking the rules. It is worth mentioning that the high table is a very rule-abiding organization. Therefore, Winston has a special status in the high table with the unique status of the Continental Hotel. He almost became an elder who was not on the list besides several elders. At the same time, the strength of the Continental Hotel expanded, completely occupied Hell's Kitchen, and covered the whole of New York. Winston almost replaced Kingpin and became the boss of the New York underground world. Of course, Winston knew clearly that all the changes now were brought to him by Batman. He also couldn't forget how a figure in black armor and flying cape easily broke into his safe house on that night a few months ago and warned himself calmly, as if there was no murderous intent, but it was chilling. "See you later." Winston finished speaking. Beep. The call ended. Anton got into his car and headed to the Continental Hotel in Manhattan. This was the place they had agreed to meet. The driver who came to greet Anton was none other than his employee, Eddie Brock. I just spoke to Director Stacy on the phone. He has arranged for the task force to pick us up at the place designated by Phil. Eddie said as he drove, George will be waiting for us at the Continental Hotel. Phil did a good job this time. Anton nodded with satisfaction and praised him. When he comes back, let him write tomorrow's news. He can brag about himself as much as he wants. I thought so too. Eddie laughed. Manhattan, dock area. Phil and Sandman Flint immediately engaged in a fierce battle. As a mutant, Flint's methods were hard to guard against. Fortunately, Phil had long known about Flint's abilities and received Anton's guidance. In the past 10 days, he had Donatello build a batch of freezing guns in advance and prepared sufficient magazines. The freezing bullets of the freezing gun not only have a strong impact force, but also can instantly burst out extremely low temperatures. In just a few blinks of an eye, the target object can be frozen into ice. For specific reference, Captain Cold, the leader of the Rogue Gang, is a villain in the Flash. This guy can produce a freezing gun of absolute zero in his hand, which is similar to the one in Phil's hand. Of course, the one in Phil's hand is definitely not that powerful, but it is enough to deal with the Sandman. Damn it. Sandman Flint looked ugly, and the freezing gun posed a great threat to him. It's like a natural fruit ability user encountering a strong man with domineering power, and most of his abilities have lost their use. Flint, who has no ability advantage, can't be arrogant at all. Phi. Devil, we are here. Suddenly, a truck drove over quickly, causing cheers from the onlookers. They are so familiar with this car. The truck is covered with patterns that are extremely familiar to New York citizens, which are the highly recognizable avatars of the Ninja Turtles. You've come at the right time. Seeing this, Phil, who had suppressed Flint and was in the limelight, couldn't help laughing. Everything was within his expectations. Although Phil planned to debut under the attention of the public, he was cautious and didn't put all his eggs in one basket. Calling the Ninja Turtles was his double insurance. Near the battlefield between Phil and the Sandman, that is, the dock area, in a bungalow, Justin Hammer saw Phil's evil ghost coming, and his face was very ugly. He realized that he had been exposed to some people. Batman, Justice League, what do you want to do? From the mouth of the guy called the evil ghost, it can be learned that some people here refer to Batman and others. Justin thought for a moment. Although he didn't get an answer, he didn't hesitate to let Sandman Flint hold the person who came, and he packed up his things and planned to leave immediately. Bang. Just opened the door. Hello, Mr. Hammer. Welcome to the Continental Hotel. At the door, a black guy looked at Justin Hammer in front of him calmly and smiled. Justin's face suddenly changed, and he closed the door immediately. Bang. Seeing this, the black guy from the Continental Hotel did not hesitate, and kicked out, causing the door that was about to close to open again. Then he grabbed Justin's collar, lifted him up, and took him into the car on the side of the road. Kai. The car started, and quickly drove away. The battle between Phil and the Sandman continued. However, the Ninja Turtles arrived at the scene in the battle. The appearance of 4 turtles made the Sandman feel an unprecedented threat. Give up. Phil stepped on the flying skateboard, suspended in the air 2 or 3 meters away from the main road, and a smile appeared on his face under the mask. The 4 turtles stood beside him, forming a line to deal with the enemy not far away. I will never surrender. Sandman Flint glanced at the freezing gun in Phil's hand, and was very afraid. For some reason, he gritted his teeth, and revealed an extremely unwilling expression. What a pity. Phil said calmly, if you die, I will find a good host family for your daughter. Hearing this, Flint's pupils shrank, and he seemed to have completely lost his strength and relaxed. Wait. Flint gathered the sand scattered around, raised his hands, gathered all his strength, and his face was dejected. No more fighting. You know what's good for you. Phil snorted and waved to the turtles behind him. Donnie, you should have brought special electric shock handcuffs, right? Continental Hotel. Justin Hammer was brought here. High table? Justin suddenly realized, with a strange look on his face. Are you from the high table? If you are here for money, I can give you 10 times. He opened his mouth and said 10 times, not hesitating to tempt with huge profits, "You must know who I am. I can take out this money. I'm the chairman of Hammer Company. The chairman of Hammer Company is really rich." A sneering voice came. Justin Hammer turned his head and saw a figure that was not unfamiliar appeared in his sight. "You are." Justin's eyes widened. "Anton Jameson. It's you." Chapter 192 Hammer is arrested. See Harry again. In many ways, Anton is a celebrity. If Anton can be measured by a specific number of fans, he is at least a celebrity with a fan value of over 8 million. His face has undoubtedly entered the sight of many people and has been recorded in many places. Hammer Company is well informed and will certainly not miss the opportunity to collect information about Anton. After all, Batman, who has been the most popular in the past year, has a close relationship with Anton. If you want to understand Batman, the person you can't miss must be Anton. Especially for a long time before, Anton was considered by many people to be Batman, and now as the spokesperson of Batman, he is even more well known. Justin Hammer certainly knows Anton. "It's me," Anton replied lightly. "I'm the one who is looking for you, but I'm not the one who is going to judge you." Justin frowned and was about to speak when he heard footsteps. Da. Turning around, a more familiar man appeared in his field of vision. This man was George Stacy, the commissioner of the New York Police Department. "So it's you." Justin Hammer took a deep breath, closed his eyes, then exhaled and opened his eyes. There was no trace of luck in his eyes. "Yes, I asked Batman to find you and bring you back. Now you can't run away anymore, Mr. Hammer." George said coldly, "Soon I will announce this news to the general public in the name of the New York Police Department. The kidnapped Justin Hammer, the chairman of Hammer Company, actually directed and acted in a kidnapping drama. I want you to promise, Mr. Hammer, your company and your reputation will be ruined. You will regret it." Justin said, "It will not do you any good to bring me down." "No." Anton couldn't help but interrupt and said with a smile, "Bringing you down will be of great help to us. Justice in New York City has been served, and the New York Police Department will wash away the injustice you brought to them. Similarly, Hammer Company will lose a large number of orders, and the military will not continue to support you at the risk of being shameless. At that time, the vacant market share will be the best reward we get." Anton Jameson. Justin gritted his teeth. With his brain, combined with the gossip he had received before, he quickly understood what Anton was referring to. He looked at Anton viciously, his eyes filled with resentment, and said hatefully, "Even if Hammer Corp collapses, Oscorp will not let you win easily. Your Wayne Corp is simply a pile of shit. But your company is about to be replaced by a pile of shit. Doesn't it mean that Hammer Corp is even worse than shit?" Anton shrugged. "Justin, don't stir up trouble. I can assure you that Oscorp will not compete with us. Harry Osborn will come to us and actively seek cooperation. Because of Batman." Justin was stunned and suddenly realized, and his face showed decadence again. He knew that he had completely lost. "Yes." Anton nodded. "Because of Batman." Then he stood up and looked at George. "He is in your hands." "No problem." George said, "Express my gratitude to Batman. Maybe you should thank the evil ghost." "The evil ghost?" "He is a formal member of the Justice League. Today is his first appearance in the public eye. If you mention the name of the evil ghost in the next police press conference, I think he will be very happy." "I see. In addition to Batman, thank the evil ghost for me." As he spoke, Anton left the Continental Hotel. "See Anton off for me." Winston, who had not spoken, ordered the black guy in a very servile manner. The black guy walked out without hesitation. So, inside the Continental Hotel, only Justin, Winston and George were left. "Mr. Winston, I would like to thank the Continental Hotel for its help this time." George handcuffed Justin and ordered the police officers outside the hotel to come in and take Justin away. Then he looked at Winston, thought for a while and said, "This is a good cooperation. I hope I won't see you at the crime scene, prison, or court in the future. I'm a good citizen and a friend of Batman." Winston shrugged and didn't care about George's warning at all. Instead, he was quite happy. He saw from George's attitude that he had planned to let him off for the sake of Batman. George didn't really care about Winston and his Continental Hotel. On the surface, the New York Police Department must maintain order in New York, but the underground world also has rules. The Continental Hotel wants to be the New York Police Department of the underground world. To some extent, George is happy to see it happen. At least, Winston is more like a human being than Kingpin. Moreover, the Continental Hotel is under the watch of Batman, so it won't do anything out of line. George restrained these thoughts and returned to the police station. He immediately held a press conference to announce that Justin Hammer had been found. This news did not cause a sensation. The battle that took place in the Manhattan Dock area an hour ago has attracted the attention of many news media. The newly emerged superhero of the Justice League, the Evil Ghost, revealed a lot of useful information in the communication with the enemy. In this press conference held by George, these media people asked more questions about the Justice League. After a few simple questions and answers, someone finally mentioned the topic about Justin Hammer. Let me clarify here. George stood at the podium, his face solemn, and said word by word, Justin Hammer was not kidnapped. This is a play he directed and acted himself. The purpose is to escape the police pursuit. Before he finished speaking, there was an uproar in the audience. Excuse me, does the New York Police Department have any evidence? Of course we have evidence. The task force has just arrested Justin's accomplice, Flint Malco, a mutant. I believe you all saw the battle that just happened at the Manhattan Dock. What crime did Justin Hammer commit? Chief Stacy, can you tell us in detail? It's not convenient for now. George said, by the way, the New York Police Department would like to thank the Justice League for their help, especially the new superhero who calls himself Evil Dead. Many of you should have seen him. The guy on the flying skateboard and wearing a cape. The Daily Bugle. Anton sat in a chair, watching the New York Police Department's press conference on TV, with a smile on his lips. Phil, have you thought about how to write tomorrow's news? He turned around and looked at his subordinate who had just made a big splash and couldn't suppress his smile on his face, and said, Eddie said that he won't write for you. Do your own things yourself. Of course. Phil nodded vigorously and said, the evil spirit will be a rising star in the New York superhero world. Keep up the hard work. After Anton finished speaking, he left DC and arrived at Wayne Company, which was also located in Manhattan, and was headed by the old man. Anton, you are finally here. Harry has been waiting for you for a long time. In the office, the old man saw Anton arrive, his face unchanged, and looked at the man in front of him. Anton walked into the office, slowly approached the two people in front of him, and looked at the old acquaintance who had been waiting for him for a while in front of the old man. Harry, I didn't expect you to come so soon. He stretched out his hand and said, sorry, I was watching the news just now, and I was accidentally late. It's okay. Harry smiled and shook hands with Anton. I also saw the news. I'm glad that we have the same hobby, and are happy to see Hammer Company finished. Chapter 193 The Fantastic Four are confirmed. Harry's purpose of coming here is very simple. Divide the cake. Before meeting Anton, he had business communication with the old man Jonah Jameson in the office and quickly reached a friendly agreement. Of course, it was a verbal agreement. The specific details are related to how to divide the arms orders of Hammer Company. The reason why Harry is so sensible is that, on the one hand, his mentally ill father, Norman Osborn, is still imprisoned somewhere by Batman, and Anton is Batman's spokesperson, and has to give this face. On the other hand, in the matter of arresting Justin Hammer, the people who contributed the most are the forces to which Batman belongs, not the New York Police Department as the public now calls it. Batman's forces naturally include the Jameson family and Wayne Company, which was established not long ago, and cannot be ignored. It can be seen that Wayne Company must occupy a place in the division of the cake. If the cake is not left to Batman, who knows if it will cause trouble? Harry, who has been in charge of Osborn for half a year, has fully grown into a qualified chairman, and is accustomed to considering issues from the perspective of interests. Have you reached an agreement? Anton looked at Harry and the old man and shrugged. Harry, I'm glad you can come here on behalf of Oscorp. No, we also benefited from Batman. Harry smiled and said, Anton, in addition to the cooperation this time, I have another thing to ask you. Wait, let me think about it. Anton was not surprised. He paused and asked, is it for your father, Norman? Yes. Harry nodded and was a little nervous. I want to meet him. At this moment, the current chairman of Oscorp finally revealed the immaturity of a teenager. His recent mental state is okay. Our people have studied some commendable results. If we wait for a while, we may be able to completely eliminate the side effects of your father's injection of human enhancement drugs. Anton did not refuse and touched his chin. Let's prepare. When I have time, I will let the turtles find you and take you to see your father. He is now locked up in a place where no one can find him. That place can ensure his safety 100%. Thank you. Hearing Anton's answer, Harry was overjoyed. He didn't expect Anton to agree to his request immediately. After all, Norman was imprisoned in Batman's territory. Even if Anton was Batman's spokesperson, it didn't mean that Anton could make decisions for Batman. But he didn't expect that Anton would think about it for a moment and then agree. Harry came back to his senses and pondered. Does this mean that Anton's position in the Justice League is even higher than he thought? However, Harry got the exact information that Anton is not Batman through some reliable channels. Anton, what role do you play in the Justice League? After getting a satisfactory answer from Anton, Harry left Wayne Company. Standing at the door of the building, he was in a trance. Suddenly he turned his head and looked at the big words of Wayne Company behind him. Limb regeneration technology, and he pondered for a moment. Advanced technology, but unknown weapons technology. Is Batman the mastermind of all this? Boss. His driver parked the car in front of him. Harry came back to his senses, sat in the back seat, and was then slowly taken away from the area by the car, and returned to Oscorp. Inside Wayne Company, in the office, Anton stood by the window, watching Harry standing on the steps at the door. After thinking for a moment, he got into the car and left with a faint smile. Old man, you look so grinning. Did you gain a lot today? He turned his head and said, I have to say that Harry has changed my mind. Even if Norman Osborn returns to Oscorp, he may not do better than Harry. He is a qualified chairman and more generous than Norman. The old man smiled and said, he promised to give us 60% of Hammer Corporation's orders. 60% of the orders, old man, don't be too greedy. No. The old man said, I have planned to buy Hammer Corporation's arms production line. Justin Hammer was just arrested today. After a few days of news fermentation and the bullets flying for a while, Hammer Corporation will truly realize what it means to be powerless. This time, even the military will no longer protect them. After a pause, he smiled deeply and continued, at that time, Hammer Corporation was like a prey surrounded by wolves and could not escape the clutches of us hungry wolves. Old man, you are talking less and less like a good person. Anton stared at the old man carefully and always felt that the old man now looked like the big boss in The Godfather, wearing a suit, holding a cigar, surrounded by smoke, with white hair on his temples, and his eyes revealed ferocity in his calmness. I never said I was a good person. The old man shrugged, exhaled a puff of smoke, and said lightly, but this does not prevent me from having a good heart and taking some actions for it. By the way. After saying that, the old man seemed to think of something and spoke again and ordered, if you have nothing else to do recently, it's best to stay in New York. John is coming back. You and your son haven't seen each other for more than a year. He will be happy with your current achievements. John. Anton was stunned. It took a long while before he realized that the John the old man mentioned was not the John Constantine who he remembered most deeply, but John Jameson, the cheap father of this body, the astronaut who didn't eat Zizzling jelly. He came back from space so soon. Anton was surprised. His job this time is not to go into space, the old man said. On the contrary, he is guiding others to go into space. What do you mean by guiding others? The government has a plan to build a space station and needs to send a team of scientists to space to conduct certain experiments. John, as an experienced astronaut, was hired as the coach of this team of scientists to assist them in some special astronaut training. The old man said, the plan is coming to an end and the team of scientists has been sent into space and John's job is over. The team of scientists went into space. Anton muttered, with a strange look on his face. Why did he feel that this story was so familiar the more he thought about it? How many people are there in that team of scientists? Who are they? Anton thought about it and couldn't help asking, they should be famous people to get funding from government departments, right? I remember there were 4 of them, 3 men and 1 woman. The leader was called Reed Richards. He was a super genius with doctoral degrees in engineering, mathematics, physics and other fields. He was once as famous as Tony Stark, but unfortunately, Reed didn't have the family background like Tony, so he is now unknown compared to Tony. The old man didn't notice Anton's frozen expression while talking. Good guy. The Fantastic Four are confirmed. Chapter 194 Wonder Woman is released. Anton looked strange. He was not surprised. The messy plots he encountered earlier made him clearly know that he was in a tailor-made Marvel movie universe. Besides, the Fantastic Four was originally the orthodox Marvel, and there was more reason for them to appear than the Wanted Order and Transformers. You know, the Fantastic Four is the milestone work of Stan Lee, the father of Marvel. In the era of Marvel's decline, the Fantastic Four allowed Marvel to survive. To a certain extent, in the orthodox Marvel universe, the Fantastic Four should be the savior. However, the time of the original Earth is now. After entering the 21st century, Marvel looked left and right and found that all the valuable superheroes were sold out. They chose the tallest among the short ones and reluctantly chose Iron Man to fight for life and death. In the end, it was a great success, leading the trend and opening the era of superhero movies. Okay, how long will John be back? Anton asked. The return of Cheap Dad John means that the Fantastic Four have gone to space and the plot has officially entered the initial stage. Soon, New York will usher in a chaotic event. It is hard to say whether this incident will involve his cheap dad. As for the enemy, there is no doubt that it must be Victor Von Doom, named Dr. Doom. This is a real tough guy. Unlike the villains in the Iron Man trilogy who failed and could not be put on the stage, Dr. Doom, Victor Von Doom is definitely a powerful person. Dr. Doom in the comics does not have any superpowers. Later, through learning and various opportunities, he mastered a lot of magic knowledge, and his magic level can compete with Doctor Strange. Dr. Doom in the movie is set as a classmate of Mr. Fantastic Reed. With the identity of a billionaire, he participated in space operations, sneaked into the space station, and finally obtained unique superpowers like the Fantastic Four. Of course, the movie version of Dr. Doom is much weaker than the comics, but it should not be underestimated. To a certain extent, according to the justice value assessment, if you can solve Dr. Doom, you should get a high justice value. Anton has not received a large amount of justice for a while. The Electro who was arrested while watching a show at the expo half a month ago only brought him a pitiful 2 million justice points. TSK. To be honest, after the 10 million justice points from the Transformers incident, it is hard for him to be interested in a few million justice points now. But the Fantastic Four incident is an opportunity. Dr. Doom is a classic villain in the Marvel world. Even if the Dr. Doom in the movie is not that powerful, just like Marvel itself did, the system should give more points to the taller one among the short ones. It's still half a month at the earliest. The old man said, the end of the work does not mean that you can leave whenever you want. Anyway, I will notify you when he comes back. Okay, notify me as soon as he comes back. Anton waved his hand. With John's return as the time point, the plot of the Fantastic Four, at least until now, has enough time to prepare for it. The New York citizens who have suffered so many disasters have just experienced the Stark Expo incident not long ago, and today they witnessed the battle at the Manhattan Pier. At most, there is about a month before the next Fantastic Four incident will come. This place is really scary. Thinking about it, Anton returned to DC to deal with his daily work and put this matter behind him. In the next few days, he flew to Los Angeles again. The Wonder Woman movie was finished and officially entered the post-production stage. Because it was a movie shot by Anton, out of respect for his boss, the future Mysterio Quentin Beck personally took over the special effects production of the movie. The speed was very fast. Counting the preliminary preparations and the support of the technical boss, the post-production was not troublesome. The holographic technology developed by Quentin Beck was quite real, which helped Anton to shoot to a certain extent, directly exempted the post-production part, and accelerated the progress of the film. Now, Quentin's technology has become a common advanced technology in Hollywood. This special effects studio under DC is now valued at hundreds of millions, but there is no way to invest. Quentin, who holds a lot of shares in the special effects studio, rose instantly and became a billionaire. Although it is just in valuation, Quentin is also doing well. Of course, he has not forgotten his boss. The post-production of Wonder Woman was handed over to Quentin, which was also the result that Anton was happy to see. Anton believes that with Quentin's technical help, the final Wonder Woman film will definitely be far better than the original Gal Gadot version on Earth. Many people have foreseen the success of this movie. Jim strongly requested to prepare in advance and establish the production plan for the second part of Wonder Woman, but was rejected by Anton. Anton has no plan to shoot the second part of Wonder Woman at all. First, the second part of Wonder Woman in the original time and space was so bad that the power and plot collapsed, which was not worth watching. Second, after the release of this Wonder Woman he shot, it will definitely help him push the fan value of Wonder Woman to more than 30 million. At that time, he can naturally achieve his goal and exchange the Wonder Woman template. There is little point in shooting the second part. Making money has never been the key. Fan value is the key. As for why Batman shot the second part of it was out of selfish considerations, and the other part was to strengthen the audience's sense of substitution, better lead to the subsequent Batman v Superman, and bring more heat to Superman. To be honest, in this world, Superman's character setting is really not very pleasing. In this world that just happened to be invaded by aliens, aliens are not good things in the eyes of many people. In this case, the appearance of a superhero set by aliens can only bring popularity to the movie, but cannot bring more sense of substitution. The increase in Superman's fan value is slightly different from what Anton expected. After thinking about it, he came to this conclusion. Soon, the later stage of Wonder Woman was finally completed under Quentin Beck's day and night work. The finished film came out soon. Anton led Jim and others to watch the finished film and was satisfied with it. Jim immediately stepped up publicity. The film materials were sprinkled out like free money, further raising the popularity of the film and the character of Wonder Woman. After Anton's one-year operation, DC's works are no longer unknown. After all, it includes Batman, Cyborg and Green Arrow, three superheroes who have appeared in reality, which makes many fans proud, as if the superheroes they like can appear in the public eye like the sunshine shining into reality. This dreamlike linkage has greatly increased the fan stickiness of DC's works. At the same time, the news that Wonder Woman was about to be released was also heard by SYNOPSIS and others at the first time. Coulson immediately dropped his work and paid attention to this matter. It was not easy to cover up the matter about Ivan Vanko caused by Hammer Company, and now there is a movie about Justice League released. Coulson is quite troubled. He dare not ignore the Wonder Woman in DC. Although on the surface, this is just an insignificant movie, the key is not to watch the movie, but to watch the person who filmed this work, and which characters the protagonist of this work, Diana Prince, has linked with. The director of the movie is Anton Jameson. Anton Jameson, who filmed the movies Batman and Cyborg. Under the instructions of Black Studeg, Coulson, who has watched all the works of DC, clearly knows the position of Wonder Woman in the works of DC, or in the virtual Justice League. The daughter of Zeus, the king of gods, is a true god. She has the blood of the old gods flowing in her body, and possesses extraordinary powers like a god. She once fought against Ares, the god of war. These stories look bizarre, like ancient myths. As a senior executive of SHIELD, Coulson has seen many secrets that others cannot access, including some incredible historical materials. He is not sure whether there are gods in the world. What he can be sure of is that in the ancient earth, there are indeed some people with extraordinary powers, like gods. So, will Wonder Woman in the movie, Diana Prince, be the descendant of these people? As for Wonder Woman's crossover characters, they look even more terrifying, including Flash, Cyborg, Batman, and even Superman. In the works, released by DC today, Batman and Cyborg have become real characters. That terrible alien, Superman, seems to have no signs of appearing in the real world. Who dares to guarantee that Wonder Woman is not the next one? Anyway, Coulson has a feeling that Batman and Cyborg are by no means the only two. Later on, they will definitely see these virtual superheroes being played as real-world characters, and then causing a huge sensation. After thinking for a moment, tomorrow's premiere. It seems I have to find someone to reserve a seat. Coulson dialed a number. Hey, this is Coulson. Help me buy the earliest movie ticket tomorrow. Wonder Woman. Why you? Of course I can't buy the ticket with my own money. Watching a movie is a business. Anton's new work. Time flies. The premiere of Wonder Woman is about to begin. Anton, who had just arrived at the premiere, was dragged by the old man to meet a man he had been looking forward to for a long time. It was the father of this body, his cheap dad. Anton, I went out to work for more than a year, and I heard that you have become a big director. A man who looked only in his early 30s, but was actually almost 40, opened his arms and hugged Anton tightly with a smile on his face. John, long time no see. Anton was stunned. It was the first time they met, and looking at the man in front of him, he really couldn't call him dad. But the warm embrace from John, who had integrated all the memories of the original body, also awakened this part of Anton's interest in his mind. Looking at this familiar yet unfamiliar face, he gradually became friendly. You came back at the right time. For the premiere of my new movie? Anton asked with a smile. Of course. John smiled and said, I've been looking forward to this day for a long time. Let's go. You will see an excellent work. As they talked, the two entered the venue of the premiere. John went directly into the backstage. Anton went to the prepared interview area, and after a simple interview, he came to the podium in the backstage and exchanged greetings again. After the cumbersome steps, the movie finally began. Before Anton left the stage, he swept his eyes across the audience and saw several familiar figures. Not surprisingly, the corners of his lips lifted. Tony, Coulson and others are here. Although he knew that they were here to spy on intelligence, to some extent, Anton still had to thank these people for contributing to his box office. It seems that watching a movie at the premiere does not count the box office results. But it doesn't matter. As long as you provide fan value, we are friends. Coulson may not contribute to Wonder Woman's fan value, but Tony Stark, as a world-renowned pervert, will be interested in Wonder Woman's big breasts and long legs, even if he turns over a new leaf. As a man, Tony's little thoughts can't be hidden from Anton's eyes. The movie begins. As many heroes of DC appear in the opening, there is a monologue from the heroine in a low tone. A woman with big breasts and long legs enters the audience's field of vision. Everyone knows that this woman is the heroine, Wonder Woman, Diana Prince. Diana began to recall the past from a photo. The photo was yellowed and looked very old, and through the background in the photo, Coulson quickly locked onto the last era, that unique era. Wartime. Coulson's eyes stayed on the weapon in the photo. This rifle was the most commonly used weapon during World War I. Then, the heroine Diana picked up the note in the box, and the title of the book was Bruce Wayne. Coulson's mouth twitched. In his opinion, this was Anton emphasizing that Wonder Woman and Batman were from the same world. Others would not think like him, and everyone thought it was a normal plot linkage. Soon, the movie entered the plot of Paradise Island in Diana's childhood. Paradise Island, Amazons. This is a special kingdom full of women. The king and the people are all tall women, so everyone can be a brave and warlike warrior, and their strength is not weaker than that of men, or even stronger. It is worth mentioning that the island is protected by Zeus's magic protective force field, so the tribesmen can live forever, just like a real paradise. In the process, the movie borrowed the mouth of Diana's mother, Queen Hippolyta of Paradise Island, to reveal the background. Paradise Island believes in Greek gods, headed by the god Zeus. The god Zeus created humans, but humans were envied by Zeus's son, the god of war Ares. Ares provoked human rebellion, and caused war to rage and expand in the human world. The expansion of war made Ares stronger and stronger. In the end, the god of war expanded his ambitions and even killed the gods, intending to control the whole world. At the critical moment, he was stopped by Zeus's thunderbolt. But in order to stop Ares, Zeus died of exhaustion. Before his death, Zeus left behind a powerful weapon and set up a protective shield for Paradise Island, to prevent it from being found by the revived Ares. Seeing this, the plot is basically clear. The logic is quite simple, and no one will not be confused. The final enemy is the god of war, Ares, and Wonder Woman will appear as a superhero to defeat Ares and save the world. Coulson was thoughtful. Although the plot is simple, it expresses a very interesting concept. Just like the description of God creating man in the Bible, the movie of Wonder Woman indirectly agrees with this view. However, the god who created man changed from God to Zeus, the king of Greek gods. Is this exposing myths or alluding to reality? Are humans really created by gods? Coulson thought of some records in the SHIELD data, squinted his eyes, and had some reasonable doubts. If it were any other movie, Coulson would not take it to heart at all. But this is a movie shot by Anton. What a headache. Coulson didn't know what Anton was thinking. If Wonder Woman really appears in the real world, is this movie an advance autobiography for the upcoming hero? SHIELD investigated all the backgrounds of the Batman movies and felt that they understood something, but also felt that they understood nothing. At least, they still haven't figured out where Batman's special equipment and advanced technology came from. Of course, through the newly established Wayne Company, SHIELD vaguely had some ideas. Wayne Company obviously has the technical support of Batman. Otherwise, those unique arms designs and advanced technologies would never be casually taken out by a newly established company. This is 4,500 words, and there are updates. I'll sleep first, and then write during the day. Starting today, I'll write 10,000 words a day, I remember. By the way, I'll ask for monthly tickets at the beginning of the month. Chapter 195 Ancient Runes. Coulson is shocked. The subsequent development of the Wonder Woman movie was completely within Coulson's expectations. This is not a movie with profound connotations, but a superhero movie based on popcorn. It's just that the content inside and the director who shot this movie cannot be ignored. As the plot unfolds, as Diana grows up, the audience sees the appearance of the weapon of killing God, a sword. The audience doesn't know that this sword is called the Sword of Vulcan in the original comics, which can cut at the subatomic level. In the movie, this sword did not play any role, but this is all later. The early plot is over, the background introduction is completed, and we get to the point. A plane broke into Paradise Island, and the German army that followed was solved by the residents of Paradise Island with great effort. From the pilot Steve Trevor, Diana learned about the outside world. A huge war swept the world. In 4 years, 27 countries participated in the war and 25 million people died. Hearing the name Steve, Coulson's face became strange again. No matter who looks at it, this name is undoubtedly a reference to Captain America. The background of the movie easily makes Coulson think of the last period, the World War II. However, the background of the movie is World War I. Secondly, as a little fan of Captain America, Coulson is definitely familiar with the experience of Captain America Steve Rogers. Rogers has never been to Paradise Island. This is obviously a plot made up by Anton. There is no reference value. Coulson calmed down and frowned slightly. He began to think that this movie might not make sense and was purely out of Anton's hobby. The movie developed as Coulson expected. The people of Paradise Island believed that the war was caused by Ares. Diana wanted to defeat Ares, so she took away the weapon of killing the god and left Paradise Island with Steve Trevor to fight Ares and end the war. In the process, they found reliable comrades, went deeper step by step, and found Ares' human body. General Ludendorff from the German army. But after Ludendorff's death, the war did not stop. Diana discovered that Sir Patrick, who had been helping them before, was the real Ares. The weapon of killing gods, the sword was easily destroyed by Ares. Ares pointed out that the sword was not a weapon of killing gods at all, but Diana's body was. As the daughter of Zeus and Amazon Queen Hippolyta, Diana has the blood of the old gods flowing in her body, and is naturally a god. Only gods can kill another god. A great war. In the end, the male protagonist Steve died while flying a plane, and Diana naturally killed Ares and ended the war. The plot is quite simple. When Coulson saw Steve die while flying a plane, he felt more and more that he was alluding to Captain America. He was very familiar with Captain America and even had exchanges with him, and he knew clearly about Steve Rogers' experience. The story known in reality and the plot in the movie created a sense of separation, which made Carlson think more and more that this movie had no reference value. Of course, he cannot represent all the audience. At least, the audience around Carlson watched it with relish. Wonder Woman's movie is different from the previous Batman and Cyborg. Batman looks at the connotation, and Cyborg looks at technology. Wonder Woman focuses on the background story and real special effects. It is also quite exciting. After the movie, the general audience applauded and gave a warm response. Tony in the audience remained calm. He admitted that the quality of the movie was above the passing line, and it was a work whose success could be foreseen, but this work could not bring him the spiritual shock like Batman, the technological inspiration of Cyborg, or even the alien puzzle of Superman. What gods, Zeus, the king of gods, are too far away from real life. Tony never believes in myths, unless there really is a king of gods or the son of the king of gods appearing in front of him. From this point of view, in Tony's opinion, this movie has nothing to watch, except the heroine Diana with big breasts and long legs. After the movie ended, Tony and Carlson left the stage early without waiting for the main creative team to speak again. Anton saw this and didn't care. From the reactions of the people around him, he knew that this movie would definitely achieve the effect he wanted. Today, Wonder Woman, driven by the Flash TV series, has 10 million fans. The remaining 20 million fans are estimated to be collected in about a week. After opening the Wonder Woman template, there is another powerful force. Anton touched his chin and thought for a moment. In terms of actual conditions, he has exchanged 3 DC heroes, including Batman, Cyborg and Green Arrow. Among these 3 people, excluding the various completely unscientific armors that Batman uses, the person with the strongest power in daily life is undoubtedly Wonder Woman, a real god with the blood of the gods and the power of the gods, Diana Prince. In this way, the Justice League at this time has Batman, Cyborg, Green Arrow, Wonder Woman, Venom, Spider-Man, Ninja Turtles, Daredevil, and the Devil, these superheroes on the surface. In addition, there are the Hulk, Dr. Lizard, and Splinter, the Big Rat, hidden in the sewer laboratory. The composition of the characters is terrifying. Not to mention, the Justice League also has a war fortress in the universe as a base. The war fortress is connected to another planet, which is the home of the Transformers, the planet Cybertron. No matter what emergency situation occurs, the Transformers can always use the telepathic transmission device on the war fortress to instantly appear as foreign aid. With this calculation, Anton even feels that he is invincible. This is of course Anton's illusion. There are many secrets hidden on the earth. The most noteworthy one is the Supreme Sorcerer Ancient One, who is currently hiding behind, silently watching everything, and controlling the past and the future. Although I don't know why the Ancient One has never appeared, Anton knows that it is impossible for the Ancient One not to pay attention to himself as a super variable. Batman's identity may be hidden from others, but it certainly cannot be hidden from the magic boss who observes the past and the future like the Ancient One. In addition, there is the Captain Marvel who holds the power of the new star, Carol Danvers. This guy can't tolerate the Earth being controlled by a single force. Captain Marvel is the strongest trump card of the Black Salted Egg. Anton does not think that there can be an absolutely friendly relationship between Batman represented by him and Captain Marvel represented by the Black Salted Egg. It's our turn, Anton, stop daydreaming, Jim suddenly urged. Anton came back to his senses, walked up to the podium, and smiled at everyone. A moment later, the premiere was over. Many media platforms that were arranged gave Wonder Woman high scores. Even if some people don't appreciate this movie, they still say a few good words for the sake of the big remuneration. In fact, seriously speaking, although Wonder Woman's movie is above the passing line, it is really not as good as Batman, Superman, and even Cyborg's movie. Limited by the subject matter, the heroine's atmosphere is too strong. The whole movie, except for the special effects and the heroine's big breasts and long legs, is almost cliched. However, just the special effects and the heroine's big breasts and long legs have the element of a successful commercial movie. As long as the plot is reasonable, no one will deliberately complain. This is recognized by the box office results the next day. The first day box office in China was 40 million. Everyone knows it well, including Jim and others. They all know that due to the subject matter, it is normal that Wonder Woman's performance is not as good as Anton's previous Batman and Cyborg, but based on the current situation, it is definitely a big hit. There is no doubt that the first day box office of 40 million won the first place in the box office of the day. The media platform estimates that the final domestic box office may exceed 450 million, and the global box office will definitely exceed 800 million. Jim was very happy. He did not expect the Wonder Woman movie to be as successful as Batman. However, even the current results are enough to make DC and Anton's reputation even higher. In just over a year, 3 movies were all box office hits. Anton became the most popular director in Hollywood, no one else. In a few days, he was approached by countless female stars who called him, created encounters, and offered themselves for bed. For the first time, Anton felt the trouble of being too popular. As a last resort, Anton had to release the news that he was going to take a break in the near future and would not consider making movies again. People expressed their understanding. Anton was a rich kid before he made movies. It was normal for him to lose interest after he became successful, not to mention that he was running DC and the Daily Bugle. You know, the recently rising Wayne Company also has a close relationship with the Jameson family behind Anton. But this did not stop female stars and celebrities from all walks of life from throwing themselves into the fire. Even if Anton did not make movies, he was a standard diamond bachelor. His current level and social status were only slightly inferior to Tony Stark. Tony Stark was Iron Man in everyone's eyes after all, and he was also the chairman of a giant company. Anton was so annoying that he was forced to live a life of luxury for a few days. It is worth mentioning that in the past few days, Wonder Woman's fan value quickly broke through the 20 million mark. In about a week, it will break through 30 million and achieve the redemption target. Anton was painful and happy. What surprised him was that, after communicating with his cheap dad John, the Fantastic Four who went to heaven currently had no return plan. This means that it is estimated that there is still a while before the plot of the Fantastic Four, not as early as Anton expected. However, on Anton's day off, a piece of bizarre news reported on TV caught his eye. Near the town of Pandy in Antigo, New Mexico, during a thunderstorm, a miracle occurred in this small town on the border of the United States. On the side of the road, in the center of the endless wasteland, a round pit with a diameter of several meters appeared inexplicably after the thunderstorm ended. There was a hammer in the pit. A passing driver found the hammer and couldn't pull it out no matter what. After trying to no avail, he told his friends about it and spread the news to 10 people, and 10 people spread it to 100 people. People regarded it as a miracle. There was also a picture attached to the news, which was exactly what Anton remembered. Thor? Anton narrowed his eyes. The appearance of Thor meant that there were only a few months left before the New York battle in Avengers 1. It seems that there is not much time left for the holiday. On the other side, S.H.I.E.L.D. also received the news in advance. This kind of supernatural incident will undoubtedly arouse S.H.I.E.L.D's suspicion. After receiving the order, Coulson quickly went to the town of Pandy in Antigo and came to the vicinity of the round pit. Seeing this hammer that no one could pull out and the mysterious runes around it, he looked strange. This scene seems to have been seen somewhere. Coulson thought for a moment, opened his eyes wide, and showed a look of horror. Wonder Woman. Similar runes appeared in the Wonder Woman movie, or in other words, ancient characters. On the Amazon Paradise Island, when the heroine Diana took out the so-called weapon to kill the gods, the sword left by Zeus, similar ancient characters were embedded in the cave. Gudang. Coulson swallowed his saliva. He watched the movie very seriously and was sure that he remembered it correctly. While thinking, he thought of himself who left the movie early without waiting for Anton to speak, and he wanted to turn around and slap himself twice. Someone come. He ordered in a deep voice. Sir, go find someone to study these words. Also, let's rent the town cinema and find a few people to bring cameras and go with me. What? We are going to see a movie and bring cameras to secretly film? The agent was stunned, and when he saw Coulson's expression was not right, he immediately became serious. I mean, what movie? Wonder Woman. 2 updates with 8,000 words, and another one in the evening. I'm going to have dinner at a friend's house later, and I'm not sure when I'll be back. but there will definitely be more in the evening. Don't worry. Try to come back early and update before 12 o'clock at night. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 196 Amazing Guess. Time Note. When Anton was filming Wonder Woman, he didn't consider any ancient characters at first. The main reason was that the production team was too professional. After making this suggestion, Anton felt it was quite reliable, and it was not difficult to find a few ancient characters experts, so the final results were remarkable. It can only be said that any success is inseparable from teamwork, especially film production. The characters used in the Wonder Woman movie are probably cuneiform characters that appeared in the ancient Middle East. This is the earliest recognized writing in the world, with a history of about 5,000 to 6,000 years. Between 2000 and 3000 BC, the Sumerians and Akkadians in the Mesopotamian basin successively established some city-states. These early countries already had their own heads of state, elders' councils and litigation institutions, and had the basic characteristics of the state. The traditional tribal customary law gradually transitioned to law. Of course, coincidentally, in this messy Marvel world, the time when cuneiform characters appeared coincided with the timeline of Thor's father, the king of the gods in Norse mythology, Odin, conquering the 9 realms. When Anton was filming the movie, he considered the timeline of the movie in reality. Zeus was the king of the gods in Greek mythology. Before the ancient Greek era, every nation that established its rule in Mesopotamia followed the evolution of cuneiform, and the movie naturally used this cuneiform. Therefore, Carlson, who was very serious about watching the movie, was shocked when he found the details. He came to his senses and quickly led the agents around him, with cameras and magnifying glasses, to the movie theater in the small town, ready to watch the movie again from beginning to end. Fortunately, there were not many people in the movie theater in the small town, and Carlson successfully booked the theater. In the process of re-watching the movie, Carlson opened his eyes wide. This time, he didn't dare to miss any details. When he saw the so-called weapon of killing gods in the movie, he thought of the lines on the unknown hammer he had just seen, and instantly felt that he had discovered some truth. He watched it for a whole day. He watched it over and over again. In addition to affirming that this movie has some connection with the current events, there was nothing to gain. They sent the words engraved on the so-called weapon of killing gods in the movie to the ancient writing experts. After translation, they found only some records about ancient myths and some clichés in the story, without any other valuable information. Greek mythology. Carlson frowned, thinking of the hammer that no one could pull up. Could it really be a weapon from the gods? This conclusion beyond common sense gave him a headache. The environment he grew up in made him not believe in so-called myths at all. He only believed in science. Have you found the ancient writing experts involved in the production of this movie? Carlson asked. Found it. The agent under him answered, but the expert only said that he provided the translation of myths and legends according to the requirements of the crew, and he knows nothing. Forget it. Carlson gave up looking for answers from the movie. Since it is confirmed that the movie revealed information, it means that the filmmaker of the movie, Anton, and even the Batman behind Anton, may have expected such a thing to happen. So he waved his hand, unless you go to Anton directly, otherwise, it is almost impossible to get the answer from outsiders. He exhaled and thought of a word that was mentioned repeatedly in the movie. God-killing weapon. Could this hammer be a real god-killing weapon? Carlson had many guesses in his mind. On the one hand, he suspected that this hammer was the so-called god-killing weapon. On the other hand, if this hammer was really a god-killing weapon, would it mean that Wonder Woman in the movie would soon appear and become a real person? Then, would Ares, the god of war in the movie, appear? Finally, if Ares, the god of war, really appears, would it mean a huge crisis that swept the world? The movie describes that the First World War was, in the final analysis, the result of the guidance of Ares, the god of war. If Ares really appears on Earth, would there be another war that swept the world? World War III. The more Carlson thought about it, the more horrified he became. He had a splitting headache. After thinking for a while, he waved his hand and gave up decisively. Forget it. Take over and seal off that area quickly. Outsiders are not allowed to enter and leave at will. This matter is not that simple. Understood. Seeing this, Carlson walked out of the cinema, took out his mobile phone, and called his own director to report the current situation. If there is really no result, maybe we can only ask Anton for help. New York. After Anton saw the news about Thor's hammer, he determined the time node at this time, which is in the orthodox Marvel movie universe, the last major event before the New York War. This means that the New York War is about to begin. Anton does not expect the Avengers under SHIELD to prevent the New York War from happening. The Avengers in the original time and space did not succeed, let alone the Avengers in this world, who are missing arms and legs, can complete the work that the former have not completed. You know, the Hulk Bruce Banner, a very important figure in the Avengers, has been fooled away by Anton, and SHIELD has not given SHIELD any chance to play. The unlucky SHIELD may not have found out where the Hulk has gone until now. In Anton's cognition, the Avengers only have Tony, Captain America, Black Widow and Hawkeye, and maybe Thor should be added. Among these people, only Captain America Steve Rogers and Tony Stark are reliable. Thor is just a brave but reckless man. Black Widow and Hawkeye are just for show, and cannot be counted on. After the Avengers fail, if they are not given a chance to make up for it, the Justice League will appear and take over the battlefield and drive the Chitauri back to the other side of the universe. Anton thought for a moment, raised the corner of his lips, and had a general idea. The current Justice League includes Batman, Cyborg, Green Arrow, Wonder Woman, Venom, Spider-Man, Ninja Turtles, Daredevil, and the Hulk, Dr. Lizard, and Transformers. In terms of weapons and equipment, the war fortresses suspended in the universe at this time far exceed the biological warships of the Chitauri. Even if they are head-on, Anton is not afraid. Not to mention, they are playing at home, facing the away Chitauri. They have a lot of advantages. After completing the New York War, the reputation of the Justice League will immediately be known worldwide. The justice value that Anton obtains will definitely break the previous record. After all, this is the first large-scale invasion of the Earth by aliens. Moreover, with the Battle of New York as a node, the Earth will enter a new era. It's a bit too late. I will update first and then modify. In addition, I have updated 10,000 words today. I finally have the face to ask for monthly tickets and subscriptions. The subscriptions are too bad recently. It's terrible, please. Chapter 197 Thor and Zeus. Foreign aid. After reporting the specific situation to his own director, Black Egg, Carlson did not receive any specific instructions from the other end of the phone. But before Black Egg hung up the phone, he revealed a meaning. If there is really no way, allow Carlson to find Anton for help. The killing weapon mentioned by Carlson and the setting of Ares, the god of war, are really terrifying. According to the setting revealed in the Wonder Woman movie shot by Anton, the First World War was set off by Ares, the god of war. If this situation is true, then S.H.I.E.L.D. cannot tolerate the appearance of Ares. It is the consensus of S.H.I.E.L.D. to avoid war at any time. Especially when the Earth is facing the threat of alien civilization, human beings should unite more. From this point, Anton also agreed. However, Anton is much more assured than these people in S.H.I.E.L.D. He knows the general direction of the future. Under the continuous threat of alien civilization, including a series of crises, the probability of war inside the Earth is extremely small. If in a few decades, the countries on the entire Earth will form the Earth-Human Alliance, it will definitely be the general trend. This is all later. Carlson thought for a moment, but could not get an answer. He felt like a big stone was hanging in his heart, and he was under great pressure. Is there still no result from the investigation? He looked at the agent beside him. That hammer can't be pulled out no matter what? Yes. The agent nodded and said helplessly, we tried many methods, but we couldn't even move the hammer. Even if we dug up the surrounding soil, the hammer would just sink into the ground and not move. Then don't move it. Seal the scene. No one except our people is allowed to enter or leave. Carlson pondered for a moment. Go find me books on Greek mythology and experts who have studied Greek mythology. I have some questions to ask them. I'll do it right away. The agent took action immediately. He just watched the Wonder Woman movie with Coulson for a whole day and realized something unusual from it. It's the god of war. God-killing weapon. His thoughts coincided with Coulson's. In this incident, the hammer that fell from the sky may really be related to those mythological stories that have been passed down from ancient times to the present. Although science is the most popular in today's era, not theology, if all wrong options are eliminated, the most incredible one left must be the answer. A moment later, Coulson looked at all the books on Greek mythology that the agent bought from the small town bookstore and felt a headache. He seemed to have returned to the time when he was secluded at home reading all the works of DC. It is worth mentioning that the works of DC are at least full of stories. Although these Greek mythology stories also have a certain story, for Coulson, who has a clear purpose, it is no different from reading them raw. Oh, why is it always me who reads books? He sighed, picked up a book and opened it, reading it at night. A few days later, Coulson felt that he had enough knowledge of Greek mythology, and the research on the hammer by several experts invited finally produced some exciting results. Thor, Mjolnir, or Mjolnir. After the deciphering of the ancient text experts, Coulson finally learned some information. This hammer is the weapon of Thor, called Mjolnir, which is the legendary Thor's hammer. Zeus. Coulson gasped. It was obvious that this hammer was the weapon of Thor. And Zeus, the king of gods in ancient Greek mythology, was the god of thunder in the popular sense. Thunderbolts were his weapons, and bulls and eagles were his symbols. But what about this hammer? It seems that there is no mention of Zeus using a hammer as a weapon in mythology. Coulson was thinking, and the expert next to him suddenly spoke up to answer his doubts. This is Norse mythology. The expert said, the weapon of Thor, the god of thunder in Norse mythology, is a hammer. But how is ancient Greek mythology related to Norse mythology? Coulson was confused. After all, he only knew Greek mythology and was not clear about many specific situations. He could only wait for the expert to give an answer. Around the 1st century AD, Thor's status was higher than Odin's. In the Rusala temple, the first holy place in northern Europe, Thor's statue stood in the center of the temple, with Odin and Frey on both sides. The expert explained, therefore, sometimes Thor is also revered as Zeus in Greek mythology. This is a well-documented statement. I see. Coulson nodded, suddenly realizing. So, Zeus and Thor may be the same person, so this Thor's hammer, from this perspective, is the weapon used by Zeus. They talked one after another, getting more and more excited, but they had no idea that the route that had gone off the track from the beginning had inexplicably taken a big detour and turned back to the right track. It's possible. The expert was very cautious when answering the question, and was not very sure. He was just a person who gave suggestions. As for what Coulson and others thought and what speculations they made, it had nothing to do with him. At this time, the expert's eyes were shining, and more of his attention was focused on the hammer in front of him. After a few days of trying, he clearly knew what kind of incident he was involved in. This was definitely a miracle. This hammer cannot be pulled up by anyone no matter what, as if it is waiting for the master who can pull it up. Just like the sword in the stone in the British legend. Only the true king can pull out this king's sword. At this time, Thor's hammer is waiting for its King Arthur. This is a huge discovery. The expert became more and more excited as he thought about it and trembled all over. A miracle. This is definitely a miracle. In ancient times, thousands of years ago, or even 10,000 years ago, maybe there really were gods in this world. Sir, you should rest. Coulson narrowed his eyes. Some words cannot be said carelessly, so he did not hesitate to cross the river and demolish the bridge, waving to the agent beside him. Take him down to rest. No, you can't do this. You can't let Thor's hammer never see the light of day. The expert resisted. Don't forget, you signed a confidentiality agreement. Coulson's face did not change. Soon, this hastily built stronghold became quiet. Coulson stood in the pit, looking at Thor's hammer in front of him, thinking of Zeus and Thor. His face sank slightly. The more you know, the closer you are to the incredible truth. There really are gods in the world. Zzzz. Suddenly, an alarm came from the communicator on his chest. Sir, an agent has fallen. The cordon has been breached. Someone has broken in. The emergency notification quickly brought Carlson back to his senses, and he had an ominous premonition in his heart. Carlson, who watched Wonder Woman almost every day, quickly realized that this might be the so-called god who broke in. This god was going to pick up this Thor's hammer. Stop him. Carlson said in a deep voice. Don't let him get close to the pit. Understood. A few minutes later, looking at the chaotic crater stronghold, Carlson was helpless. The person who came was obviously more powerful than he thought. Coulson, I'm in position. Hawkeye said calmly, bent his bow, and aimed at the figure rushing in the pit below. Wait. Carlson stopped his action. There are abnormalities in the electromagnetic waves around Thor's hammer. This person might really be Thor. Do you want me to stop him? Or send more people in to get beaten? Hawkeye aimed at the other party, and the arrow moved with the displacement of the figure, saying, he doesn't look like a god now, just a strong ordinary person. Being able to knock down so many agents under their command, this person's fighting ability was obviously recognized by Hawkeye. Let him go. Carlson thought for a moment, and gritted his teeth. If he is really a god, we can't stop him. But if he is not, he must know something. Okay. The conversation ended. The strong figure arrived at the crater, and saw the dream lover he had always dreamed of. Behind him, Carlson looked solemn, and picked up the communicator. All departments get ready. Carlson ordered. Barton, change to your most powerful arrow. Understood. As he spoke, the figure in front of Carlson quickly approached Thor's hammer. Mjolnir, we meet again. Thor smiled, his hands confidently placed on the handle of Thor's hammer, and pulled it hard. Thor's hammer remained motionless, as steady as a mountain. Thor was stunned. No. Father, why do you do this? He collapsed in the heavy rain, his heart filled with grief and anger, and he howled in pain. Okay. Carlson turned a deaf ear to the man's roar, and breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that he is not Thor. As soon as the voice fell, the agents around him swarmed in and imprisoned Thor, who became powerless after losing consciousness. Carlson tortured Thor, who was silent and absent-minded. The former gained nothing. Carlson had no choice but to leave, ready to report the intelligence to the headquarters, and then discuss with others how to deal with this person. In the gap in the middle, Thor was alone in the torture space, isolated by glass. Swish. When Thor was desperate, a figure appeared. Loki? He looked at the figure in front of him, and his dazed eyes showed excitement. Why are you here? My father died. Loki remained calm and spoke with a critical attack. On the other side, he must know something. Carlson was talking to the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., Black Egg. Hawkeye stood beside him, with his hands folded on his chest, and said nothing. In this mission, Hawkeye had no right to act independently. Carlson was his superior, and all actions must be based on Carlson's orders. He also witnessed the scene just now, and the information Carlson learned, including Greek mythology, Thor's hammer, Zeus, etc., was also known to him with his authority. Everything that the unknown guided just now was indeed worthy of suspicion. We will get the news from him as soon as possible. After Carlson reported the situation, he took Hawkeye back to the closed room to meet Thor. I'll ask again. Carlson said calmly, who are you? What do you want to do? What's your relationship with that hammer? Thor's hammer? I just heard you call him Mjolnir. You know that hammer very well. Do you know Mjolnir? Thor's dejected expression changed slightly. He raised his head, and his absent-minded eyes gathered a little light again. He said slowly, it seems that you have already investigated some information. Of course. Carlson nodded. That is Thor's hammer, the weapon of Thor. Maybe Thor should be called Zeus, am I right? Zeus? Thor was stunned and laughed a few times. I haven't heard anyone call me that. It is worth mentioning that in this unique Marvel world, it is absolutely reasonable to say that Thor is Zeus in Greek mythology. After all, the evil god Loki in Marvel is an important figure in both Greek mythology and Norse mythology, and Thor's good friend Hercules has another well-known name, Hercules. Hercules is the greatest hero in ancient Greek mythology. According to mythology, he is the son of Zeus. Of course, in this world, Hercules is a good friend of Zeus. You? Carlson frowned, judging some incredible information from this person's words. You said you are Thor? He doubted, but you didn't pick up Thor's hammer just now. That's because I lost my power, Thor replied. Wait. Suddenly, Hawkeye beside him interrupted their conversation. Hawkeye looked around, his face solemn, and said in a deep voice, "Did anyone come here just now?" "What do you mean?" Coulson was surprised and said, "Only me. No one can come in without my order." "No." Hawkeye was very serious and said solemnly, "Someone came here just now, an outsider. Not one of us." "Coulson, are you sure that no one has come here except you?" "I'm very sure," Coulson said, and cast his eyes on Thor in front of him. Hawkeye was the same. The fact seemed to be very obvious. "Okay." Thor nodded and admitted, "My brother was here just now." "Brother? Loki? Loki, the god of trickery." As soon as these words came out, Coulson and Hawkeye fell silent. They looked at each other, their eyes were full of solemnity, and their faces were slightly ugly. God. It's really God. Things have developed to this point. Even if they resist this fact, they dare not say anything more. They can sneak into the crater surrounded by agents, and focused on various surveillance without being noticed. This extraordinary method is shocking. If Hawkeye was not in a special situation, and was aware of the situation around him, they would not even know that someone had communicated with Thor, the prisoner of S.H.I.E.L.D., who had lost his divine power. The situation is getting more and more difficult. Coulson's face darkened, and he looked at Hawkeye beside him. "We must seek external support." "External support?" Hawkeye frowned. "Are you referring to Batman?" "No, Batman is not suitable to participate in this matter." "Then you mean Anton?" "Yes, Anton is not only an official member of the Justice League, but also the director and screenwriter of the Wonder Woman movie. He is more suitable to participate in this matter than Batman. The most important thing is that he is easier to control than Batman." Chapter 198. Are you fooled? No one knew that Anton was locking himself in the room at this moment, staring at himself in the mirror with a strange look. Don't get me wrong, Anton in the mirror is still a man. He is preparing himself mentally. The movie effect is very good. The big breasts and long legs of female superheroes have attracted many LSPs. Wonder Woman's fan value has exceeded 30 million and can be exchanged at any time. Anton pondered and hesitated to confirm the exchange. He was a little reluctant. Women's clothing is of course impossible. Separating a female hero's avatar is by no means equal to women's clothing, but directly changing gender, turning oneself from a man to a woman. Gender conversion is an unprecedented novel experience for anyone. Just like the transformation text in the previous life, when a boy finds that he has become a woman, the first thought is to go to the toilet. At this time, Anton is in the toilet. Forget it, this day will come sooner or later. He took a breath and was about to confirm the exchange. Ringing. The mobile phone placed aside suddenly rang, disrupting Anton's thoughts. Anton picked up the phone and saw the caller ID on it, showing a surprised expression. "Hello, this is Anton," he said. "Coulson, I always feel like I'm in some trouble when I receive your call. Anton, S.H.I.E.L.D. needs your help." Coulson's words did not surprise Anton at all. The next day, a private plane stopped at Albuquerque International Airport in New Mexico. Anton got off the plane and saw Coulson next to a helicopter. Coulson waved to him, and Anton transferred from the private plane to the helicopter sent by S.H.I.E.L.D. Puff puff puff. The propeller turned quickly, and the helicopter took off and flew towards the town of Pandiantigo. There was a lot of noise inside the helicopter. Anton and Coulson just said a few simple words and did not rush to communicate. Instead, they waited until the helicopter arrived at the town of Pandiantigo before they started to communicate with each other. "Our base is in front of us. Thor's hammer is in the crater in the center of the base." Coulson led Anton to the edge of the crater and pointed at Thor's hammer and said, "The material of this hammer is unknown, but we are sure it is not a product of the earth. After research, we found out its identity. Thor's hammer, the weapon of Thor in mythology, Mjolnir. It seems that you have done a lot of work." Anton replied lightly. Coulson could not see the slightest surprise in his face and eyes, only a calmness like a pond. Coulson's heart moved. Obviously, as he thought, Anton was prepared for these situations, and even Anton had expected this scene to happen. As the spokesperson of Batman, Anton has many secrets. The people of S.H.I.E.L.D. have no way to reveal these secrets, so they can only go with the flow and let Anton and Batman play their roles. As long as they do not touch the bottom line and rules, S.H.I.E.L.D. cannot interfere with any actions of the other party. You know, the current Justice League, through the Transformers incident, has hooked up with the military high-level officials, reached an agreement with the Department of Defense headed by John Kohler, entered the sight of the American high-level officials, and obtained a certain degree of official recognition. Batman and others no longer need to fight for official status in the World Security Council. After everyone in S.H.I.E.L.D. learned, the Justice League has been filed with the government high-level officials. From this point of view, S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Justice League are already at the same level in the United States. No one can command anyone. In addition to Thor's hammer, we also met a person who called himself Thor, the god of thunder, and also Zeus in Greek mythology. Coulson continued to introduce the situation. Anton finally showed a trace of emotion. Thor is Thor. How did he become Zeus? He was a little confused. What's the situation? Is there any messy movie that has come into this world? According to our judgment, Thor, the god of thunder in Norse mythology, is actually Zeus in Greek mythology. Seeing Anton's expression change, Coulson thought that there was finally something you didn't know. Then he continued, the man who calls himself Thor admitted this to us. Although we still have some doubts about his identity, we are basically sure that he is related to Thor's hammer. No need to doubt it. Anton thought for a while and said, I can be sure that the man you caught is the legendary Thor. Why are you so sure? Coulson asked. You should not have wasted your time these days. Some of the information and intelligence that should be collected do not need me to find them out and repeat them to you, right? Anton looked at Coulson with a smile. The latter was silent. As Anton said, some of the information and intelligence had been almost torn apart by them. After the man who called himself Thor appeared, they followed Thor's traces and found a research team that went out for an investigation. This team studying astronomy and meteorology includes Jane Foster, Eric Shavig, and Daisy Louise. Daisy, needless to say, is a real tool. Jane Foster and Eric Shavig, one is a young astrophysicist and the other is an astronomer and physicist. Both of them are qualified to join S.H.I.E.L.D. as an on-staff expert team. Especially the latter. According to S.H.I.E.L.D.'s in-depth investigation, Eric Shavig once had a friend named Bruce Banner, but after his friend disappeared, Eric also quit his job at the institute, joined the school, and became an ordinary university professor. Through inquiries to this three-person research team, S.H.I.E.L.D. and others learned that Thor appeared in a storm, seemed to appear from the storm, and fell from the sky, and landed in front of their car, causing them to think that they had hit Thor at first. The evidence is the weather monitor they installed in the car and the star map they took. When they were chasing the thunderstorm in the wilderness, they accidentally ran into Thor and took a blurry photo of Thor in the thunderstorm and captured the moment Thor appeared. The stars in the sky changed. It seemed that it was a starry sky that could only be seen in another universe. Coulson knows this problem very well. He witnessed the existence of teleportation technology during the alien invasion in New York some time ago. Obviously, Thor was most likely teleported to Earth by some technology or magic. This seems to be exile. The word exile was mentioned as a key point. After communicating with Thor, Thor seemed to be stabbed in the heart, and he was furious and refused to communicate with Coulson and others. However, Coulson and others also basically determined why Thor came to Earth. After reaching the above conclusion, the reason why they still had to seek help from Anton was because of this Thor's hammer, and Thor said that night that his brother, the god of trickery, Loki, easily sneaked into the base, which made Coulson and others a little worried. The biggest reason for being worried was the killing weapon revealed in the Wonder Woman movie shot by Anton, and the god of war as. Coulson and others consciously corresponded the so-called killing weapon to Thor's hammer. As for Ares, the god of war, they corresponded to Loki who appeared not long ago, just like Thor corresponds to Zeus. If Loki is hostile to this world, he is undoubtedly a very dangerous potential threat. From any perspective, Thor is not trustworthy. Coulson and other S.H.I.E.L.D. agents believe in themselves more. As a member of the Justice League, Anton has a certain connection with S.H.I.E.L.D. He is not considered one of them, but compared with these so-called gods, he can be classified as half of his own by S.H.I.E.L.D. This is why they asked Anton to come to the town of Pandiantego. Anton is not interested in these. The reason why he came back to the town of Pandiantego is purely for the sake of the destroyer who will inevitably appear soon. The destroyer is a super armor, the ultimate weapon created by Odin, the king of the gods, made of Asgardian metal materials, almost indestructible, and can destroy all known substances by itself. It can be controlled autonomously, or controlled by others. This is not even the key. According to the plot, the destroyer will definitely come to the earth at the urging of Loki, intending to kill Thor. At that time, Thor will awaken, regain the power of the god of thunder, and kill the destroyer. Anton does not intend to give Thor a chance to awaken. In other words, it does not matter whether Thor awakens or not. What is the destroyer? It is the justice value. If the destroyer can be killed, how much justice value does this ultimate weapon created by Odin, the king of the gods, represent? Anton feels that he has made a lot of money just by thinking about it. Anton did not think so much at the beginning. He did not intend to interfere with the development of the original plot. But until he received the invitation from SYNOPSIS, after careful consideration, he felt that it would be a bastard not to take advantage of the opportunity. This is not that he took the initiative to interfere with the plot. It is purely that people are eager for you to help. We have indeed confirmed the identity of Thor. Coulson nodded. Since you believe our intelligence, then I will no longer hide it. Anton, we asked you to come here just to know what Ares, the god of war in the Wonder Woman movie, represents? What? Anton was stunned and heard it incomprehensible. I mean, if the weapon that kills the gods in the movie represents Thor's hammer in the crater, then what does Ares, the god of war, represent? Coulson repeated it patiently. The god of war, yes. Anton's mind was spinning rapidly, and he always felt that the other party seemed to have imagined too much, making him, the original creator, a little confused. Did he fool S.H.I.E.L.D. by not paying attention? Thor's enemy is. Anton thought about it and decided to follow the plot and change the concept without leaving a trace, saying, his enemy will be Loki, the evil god, Loki. What surprised Anton was that Coulson was not shocked when he heard this answer, but showed an expression of expected. It is true. After thinking about it, Coulson's face immediately became solemn. Anton, we may not have much time. Anton was stunned. What's wrong? Chapter 199 Wonder Woman is real. What happened? Anton looked at Coulson in confusion, not understanding what he meant by we may not have much time left. There is still a lot of time left for the Chinese team. Oh no, isn't there a lot of time left for the Earth? There should be not much time left for Asgard. What are you talking about? Anton felt that he had completely fooled SHIELD to some extent, but after the other party became lame, he used his rich experience to pull himself down to the level of mentally retarded and made himself intelligence needs to be recharged. Loki has appeared. I'm sure he has met Thor. Coulson said in a deep voice, if Ares is Loki, we must not tolerate Loki's free activities on Earth, let alone let him start a war. So that's what you mean. Anton touched his head, thought for a while and said, Loki is indeed a big trouble. He is a great threat to the Earth. Your idea is right. But the struggle between Loki and Thor will not involve the Earth for the time being. What S.H.I.E.L.D. needs to do now is not to guard against Loki himself, but to guard against the existence of Thor. The existence of Asgard is only a temporary secret for S.H.I.E.L.D. After the Thor incident, S.H.I.E.L.D. will sooner or later learn the whole truth from the other party or other places, and Anton has no need to conceal it. Moreover, Anton's target is the destroyer, which does not conflict with S.H.I.E.L.D.'s goal of maintaining stability, and even complements each other, and can reach friendly cooperation. The appearance of the destroyer, relying on human power, is estimated to be solved only by releasing a nuclear bomb. It is impossible to release a nuclear bomb unless it is absolutely necessary, like the Battle of New York, when the entire city was completely invaded by aliens. The Americans would never drop a nuclear bomb on their homeland. Then, it is only natural that Anton would represent the Justice League to attack and eliminate the destroyer. After hearing Anton's answer, Coulson pondered for a moment and asked, so, Thor is also a threat? Thor is not a threat. Anton said concisely, his existence will cause trouble. I understand a little bit. Carlson didn't quite understand and couldn't help asking, you seem to know a lot about this matter, including Thor and Loki. What do you know? Before I explain this to you, you must first understand that this starry sky we are in is called the World Tree. Anton explained, there are 9 countries on the World Tree. The Earth is called Midgard by them because it is in the center of the World Tree. It is also called the Atrium. In addition to the Atrium, there are 8 countries, or planets, including Asgard, Vanaheim, Alfheim, Nidavellir, Jotunheim, Helshades, Niflheim, and Muspelheim. Wait, this is a mythological system. Is this all true? Carlson was surprised. The World Tree system in Norse mythology. During this period, he made up for the Greek mythology, but at the reminder of the expert, he bought a complete set of Norse mythology storybooks and once again read them at night. The first thing he learned was the background of the world. He was not unfamiliar with the settings mentioned by Anton. Of course it's true. Anton nodded. However, it's not quite what you think. Magic can also be explained by science. The physique of humans is indeed different from those guys who claim to be gods. They naturally control extraordinary powers, so they are revered as gods. Paused, they use the World Tree system to explain all the worlds under this starry sky. Because of the war thousands of years ago, Odin, the king of the gods in Asgard, ruled the 9 realms. Because humans were weak, the gods did not interfere with human thoughts and blocked the Rainbow Bridge, which is the space channel. This is also the reason why miracles have disappeared for thousands of years and humans have regarded the existence of gods as a fantasy. So, they suddenly appeared this time. Did they change their minds and want to rule the earth again? Carlson frowned, not afraid to speculate on the other party with the greatest malice. On the contrary, the people of Asgard are high and mighty and have no idea about a poor and remote place like Earth. Anton said, although I don't care about their existence, I must say that except for a few with extreme ideas, many of them are quite upright and proud to protect the weak. Just like elephants will not deliberately step on ants after destroying the order of the ecosystem, humans will protect endangered species. Do you understand what I mean? Carlson was stunned. So, in the eyes of the people of Asgard, humans are ants or endangered species? You can think of it that way. Anton said, as far as I know, the reason why Thor appeared here is because he made a big mistake and offended the god King Odin and was exiled. So Loki is about to ascend the throne. But as Odin's eldest son, Thor always has the first succession line, and he has fought for many years. He has a strong appeal among the people of Asgard and is the uncrowned king. Once he regains his divine power, he will be the strongest competitor for the throne. I understand. For the throne. Carlson finally caught the point and murmured, Loki will kill Thor for the throne. So, Thor is not a threat. Loki may send people to Earth to kill Thor because of Thor's existence. This is the threat we have to face. Yes, that's what I mean. Anton nodded. In that case, we can completely ignore Thor and let Loki kill him. Carlson said, in this way, the crisis will naturally be resolved. Carlson, this is Earth, the kingdom of mankind. Anton smiled and stared at the man with worrying hair in front of him. You mean, let people from other worlds come and go as they please, no matter what damage they cause to the Earth. We just pinch our noses and accept it. Is this the style of S.H.I.E.L.D.? At this point, he hinted, Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D. will always wait until the Earth is destroyed before being forced to take action. This is not in line with the style of our Justice League. I'm just talking. Carlson shook his head. Of course we can't do that. But if Loki really takes action, we must be prepared in advance. As he spoke, he thought of Wonder Woman again. Anton, one last question. I hope you can answer me truthfully. Carlson looked at Anton seriously. Anton said, you tell me. Carlson asked, Wonder Woman, Diana Prince, are they real people? Judging from the current situation, Zeus has already appeared. If Wonder Woman is really the weapon left by Zeus, then she must be a real person. The existence of Wonder Woman can also explain why Anton and others know so much about the internal situation of Asgard, which is far away in another world. Anton said, yes. Carlson got the expected answer again. He couldn't help but ask again, where is she? When the time is right, she will appear. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.